Sort of like I actually have light on my face right now because I've got this desk lamp, and without the lamp, you can't. I look like some
Yeah.
shadowy
Oh,
figure.
yeah. I'm here. Oh,
Oh,
shit.
nice.
Actually, that's the only light on in my room. I don't even have the other ones on. I mean, I have one, two, three, four. I actually have a lamp that literally hangs on my bed. That it doesn't even work properly. But I've got four of them. Now, what? Now, I've brought you on here to critique your Dark Souls play. You may have more achievements than me, but the way you play Dark Souls is driving me fucking nuts.
Okay, all right, go then.
That needs to be addressed. It is un-anarchist to wear heavy armor and heavy roll everywhere. To still have a broadsword while you're in Anor Londo. And pyromancy against gargoyles? Everyone knows that they're weak against lightning in the first game, at least.
I think
I
in the
don't
second
know.
one too. Yeah.
Yeah, in the second one, they definitely are. I don't know about the third one. That's the only one I haven't played yet. I've played Bloodborne.
Mm.
I have Bloodborne right here. I don't
Oh,
have the
nice. Yeah.
system to play.
I
I
have
don't have.
not played Bloodborne. It's the only one I haven't played because I don't have a PS4.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't have a PS4 either. I only get to play it when I go over to my mother's, who actually has a PS4 in their house. So my 11-year-old brother, actually got to play it before I did because that was how I got him to like stop playing GTA 5 and transition into me playing it. Is I'm like, hey, do you want to try this game? I bought this game. You've already played Dark Souls. Here's a game like it. It's called Bloodborne.
I didn't. I didn't even. I wasn't allowed to have video games when I was 11. I
Oh,
came
I've been playing.
from one of those.
Not even allowed to play video games growing up.
Well, I
Wow.
could play them at friends' houses, but I wasn't allowed to like have my own video games. That sounds really harsh when I phrase it that way, but it's. I mean, it was the truth. It was kind of just how it was. My mom didn't want to like get us like a video game console, so.
Yeah. I mean, my mother, my mother obviously didn't like spend all her time on it. That would make her a negligent parent, obviously. But my mother, we always had like a myriad of PS2s in the house growing up. Um, it's funny is that I got an Xbox 360, or we got an Xbox 360 as like a Christmas gift years after the Xbox 360 came out,
Mhm.
and the PS3 that I had, or that was just me and my brothers. We got together and put money that we had gotten from Christmas and our birthdays that year, and just it was enough to buy a 500 gigabyte PS3. Um,
Yeah,
and
I still have my PS3 as well. Yeah, it's a good console.
my brother has his own Xbox One. My stepfather bought a PS4 for himself, but the email that he used for PlayStation Network, there was a bit of an issue. He now can't get into it on the PS3 or the PS4 because he tried to sign in on the PS4, but it's an email he doesn't use anymore. It's a Yahoo email that he doesn't know the password to. So he can't recover that PlayStation Network profile. And that was kind of how, the PS4 ended up in the living room. My brother and I, my brothers and I, we just put our we put our profiles into, or our PSN profiles into the PS4, and we started playing it. This game right here took up a significant bit of my senior year of high school. It
my
was
girlfriend plays a lot of Fallout, so I feel that that's
yeah. Fallout 4. I don't play it because it's like some kind of great role playing game. I play it because it's a fun like sandbox to play with. It's actually kind of like the curse of Bethesda games that, like, especially recently, like, they're not really role-playing games. They're more sandboxes, you know. It's a very similar appeal to something like Grand Theft Auto, which is that you can literally do whatever you want in it. I mean, that's a bit more literal for like a game like Minecraft, but you can do pretty much anything that you want with what the world gives you. Um, there are limits, but you know, games usually aren't designed for you to like completely program them, which would be the only way you could do literally anything you wanted in the game is by making the game that you want to. And you know, it wouldn't be a game that someone else made, a piece of art that someone else made, if you could just make it in your image. I mean, you can mod the crap out of it, but it's still the game.
I'm actually really looking forward to the next Elder Scrolls game. I'm super critical of those games, but I would really like to see another one.
Oh yeah, I fucking love to play another Elder Scrolls game. Also, stop remaking Skyrim.
Yeah, I think we're done with Skyrim at this point.
I mean, you could have, at the very least, you could have remastered Morrowind for me. Come on. that was my favorite one out of the recent three. Still haven't played I haven't played the first two, which is funny because I actually played Skyrim before I played Oblivion or Morrowind, but just Morrowind was, I just, I didn't play it until 2016, but, there's a lot of role playing, and it's also very sandboxy. You can just fucking. It is a very easy. Let's just say it's a very easy game to break. There are so many glitches that you could use. There are items that are supposed to be pretty much unusable unless you know how to break the game correctly, like the Boots of Blinding Speed. Because I've seen a lot of people do like Let's Plays of Morrowind and not use the Blinding Boots of Speed, which just make me go like, this is why you start with Restoration as a major skill, and you get one of the resist magicka spells, and you make one that is 100% for like 2 seconds. You cast it, put the boots on, and then you can still see. You're not blind anymore, and you get the speed. You get the speed, or the speed boost from it, which it's higher than any other setup you could get from the game. I mean, it does take up an armor slot, so there's that. But I mean, also you can't use it if you're a Khajiit or an Argonian, because in in Elder Scrolls 3 they actually had feet that made sense based on their races. Khajiit had fucking cat, like their legs were very much like cat legs, and Argonians had the same thing. They had beast. It was called beast feet, I think, in the game. And you couldn't wear most helmets either, which it makes sense considering it's based on human and elven forms. Where if you pick up a steel helmet in Skyrim as an Argonian, it just stretches to fit the head. Like, I don't know if other people have the experience of having a big head like me, but a normal hat for the most part doesn't really stretch out to the size you want it. I've had hats that are one size fit all that don't fit my head because my head's too fucking big.
I feel like that's not even getting into the minutiae of like what size gloves or shoes you would have to be in order to like loot somebody's body and wear their shoes.
Oh yeah, you're a high elf and you've just fucking decapitated some wood elf. Who the high elves are like 6 foot, are like 6'4" or something. Like
They're
the
real high
model, I
up.
think, is like, yeah. Oh yeah, they're the tallest race in the game. Which also, a little fact that you may not know, or that a lot of people might not know, is that the high elves actually have the fastest animation speed for walking and for swinging weapons. So technically, you can swing your weapons faster than everyone else if you're a high elf. So if you're a high elf, you can just, you know, if you're a high elf, you could get something like a great sword and still swing it faster than everyone else, which I thought was a pretty entertaining concept. It's not something that you can really see, but it does make sense that it's technically a few frames less because, well, you know, if you're a bigger person, um, you know, or if you're a bigger person, the same speed relative to you, or the same movement speed, like especially if you're walking or running, this makes a lot of sense. How quickly you can get from one place to another makes sense. It makes sense that it would be shorter with longer legs because you can get your legs out farther and you can do it, and that makes it so that you can cover more
Hmm.
ground a bit quicker. It's not like a major difference. Like you're not going to have someone who's 6 feet tall just like going 10 miles per hour faster than the guy who's 5'6". Just a little bit shorter than average than a normal guy.
Hmm.
Or
Well, it's kind of like if you make frames analogous to footprints, and you think about a tall person and a short person walking 30 feet. The tall person's going to take fewer steps, just in general. I mean, assuming that they move
yeah,
their legs at like the same rate, the tall person will
yeah,
get there quicker.
yeah. That was much better worded than I had it because I'm like, I've got the words for it. I just can't dig it out of my vocabulary right now. This
that's
hat
that's
taking
my
up my
girlfriend says
brain.
that all the time. Yeah.
It's overheating my brain. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just a dumbass. I'm a dumbass.
That's
I'm a
I
20
have a
year
friend who says that all the time too.
I'm a 20-year-old who's not in college, although that's actually although that's for financial reasons, not because I lack the qualifications to do so. So I mean, I guess that kind of ruins. I mean, yeah, because you know I am qualified to do so. I have a high school diploma.
Hmm.
Um, so the question doesn't even become like, oh, do you have a GED? Because already have the diploma, which opens up even more options than the GED when it comes to colleges, which
Hmm.
I may
And I
actually
mean,
end
I
up.
have friends who graduated high school who never actually ended up going to college. But for me, I always, I really, I really enjoyed my college experience, but I realize it's kind of not for everybody. Some people just don't even go at all.
I mean, college will be completely necessary for me if I am to go into the field that I want to, or
Hmm.
if I am to go into a career field that I can actually like not get myself fired from. If you put me in Dunkin' Donuts at a cash register, I'm gonna flip out on someone. I'm, you know, it, it's what autistic people do. We don't do very well in high stress situations in public.
Oh, just hang on one sec. I gotta go. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, let me look at the chat and see what's going on, which I may actually end up shutting off the camera because I can see the like framing of the camera. It's not a very high quality camera. Oh, there's someone in the chat named Laura, Gwen's girlfriend. Would you happen to be? Oh, yep, it looks like that. Oh, your girlfriend's in the chat, Gwen.
Oh, really? Let me look. Let me.
Laura, Gwen's girlfriend.
Hmm.
That's your girlfriend, right?
Yeah, presumably. It's not loading on my phone, so.
Uh, I'm assuming that they're not a troll, which I'm
Yeah.
just going to say I may end up shutting off the camera
Okay,
because
here we go.
I can see that like the frame rate on my camera is really bad. I just do the normal movements that I would do while talking, and it's actually driving me crazy that it's blurring because they're not
Hmm.
particularly fast movements either. It's, just talking, I can see the frame rate of my mouth. It looks like I'm in Blight Town. Blight
That's
Town, where good frame rates go to die.
I had that
Uh,
experience. I don't think it was Blight Town, but it was something in Dark Souls 3 at some point. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like the Ringed City, where I just had a massive frame rate drop. Uh, People who have
yeah.
played like the DLC for Dark Souls 3 might know what I'm talking about, where some of the enemies are just so aggressive that if your connection is like a bit laggy or if your game is getting a bit weird, like one
Yeah.
second they're over there and the next second you've got a sword inside you and you're just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm dead.
Oh, Dark Souls, the best game, except for when it fucks you over. People talk about it like people talk about the game like it never fucks you over, but it very much does fuck you over in certain cases. And I mean, look at look at how poise was treated in Dark Soul, or how poise was treated in Dark Souls 3. Um, I've seen people playing it, so like I know that like it's really like it's actually pretty fucking bad.
It was
Um, you
initially,
know,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, did they patch it?
They so it took them forever, but eventually they were trying to balance it. So it was actually the way that they had it was pretty close to what they wanted, but now it's kind of like a combination with your stats and your armor set. And poise as a stat kind of activates properly now, where if you've got like a really heavy weapon and you're in the middle of a swing, you get those really like
Hyper armor.
clutch iframes. Yeah.
Oh, oh my god! If I play Dark Souls 3, I'm going to be scaring the shit out of a lot of people.
Yeah, well, so initially, like at release, it was basically just like really fast, high damage weapons and buffs were the meta, and now there's like a ton of
Yeah,
different crazy weapons that are like heavy weapons and stuff. Like the Ring
yeah.
of Night paired great swords are insane, and people use them all the time.
Oh yeah, and so I mean, I know that you have, like I said, you have more achievements in Dark Souls than me, and that's because I looked at your profile and actually looked at like what achievements you have on Xbox Live. Fuck it.
Um,
But yeah, I mean, I've been looking at you playing, like, I've been looking at like the game as you played. It's like you're still in the knight's armor from the beginning, if I'm to understand correctly. How have you not killed the Moonlight Butterfly and gotten Havel's Ring? I mean,
um,
in Havel's Ring, you'd at least be mid rolling, which is what I usually do.
so Havel's, and I'm pretty close to. I think I am mid rolling now, where the playthrough is now. So I've gotten the Elite Knight set, which is one of my favorite sets from that game.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, the Elite Knight
yeah,
set. You find that outside of the fight for the Moonlight Butterfly.
hmm
It's a
yeah,
pretty cool looking set. It's the set that Oscar of Astora at the beginning of the game has. Uh, that that I actually made a build that was just built around or recently that was just built around having the Astora's straight sword and the Elite Knight armor. And it's just it is a really cool set of armor. That like there is no way around that.
hmm and it's
I
got
know.
pretty good stats for its weight as well.
Oh yeah, I mean the poise is pretty good. Although I very much am a proponent of the Wolf Ring because it gives you 40 poise for almost no weight. I mean, poise in Dark Souls 1, like 40 poise is not much to scoff at. Like that's like a medium set of armor. So if you have the wolf ring on top of something like the elite knight armor, like you're on par with like people who are wearing iron Tarkus sets or the black iron set.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you've got the poise of a guy who's clearly going to be slow, or who's clearly going to be what the Dark Souls community calls fat rolling. It may not be the most respectful term to fat people, but
Heavy rolling, maybe.
heavy rolling. Yeah, I like the alternative of heavy rolling, but yeah. I find it funny that we've managed to just mostly talk about Dark Souls, but I was watching this last night and I'm like, Gwen, why are you still in like armor that's too heavy for you?
So actually, if you end up like anyone who sees like further into that Let's Play, there are reasons you'll see me with the Moonlight Butterfly and fighting Havel and stuff like that. It doesn't go well. With I started that character and I had no idea. Like I had a bunch of ideas about what direction I wanted to go in, but I just kind of ended up doing whatever. My actual like real playthroughs of Dark Souls, I always go for whatever like broken nonsense I can, and I usually end up wearing Havel's set, swinging the actual Dragon Tooth, with Artorias' great shield. So that's what I like to do, but I wanted to challenge myself a little bit more. So now I'm really lost.
Oh, what I do is I get my character naked and put on 2 wolf rings and just go and still swing the dragon tooth in both hands. No, I'm
okay. Yeah. Naked with wolves is probably, I don't know how many of my followers are here, but I've got some furry followers, and they calm down, guys. Don't get too excited.
Don't get too excited, furry.
I love all my followers. They're beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, furry followers are some of the best. I mean, I've never I've never considered myself a furry, but like the furry community is pretty awesome in my opinion.
They get a lot of shit.
They're fine people.
Yeah, most of them are actually pretty cool.
As Mr. President Trump would say, they're fine people on on both sides of the furry argument.
Yeah, the only bad furries are those the Nazi furs or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'm not talking about the argument between Nazi furs and anti-fascist furs. I'm talking about furry or not a furry.
I once saw, and this was on Tumblr that I saw this. I saw this piece of like fan art, and it's a wolf and I don't remember. I think it was a fox, a wolf and a fox, and one was wearing like a Soviet Russian officer's uniform, and the other was wearing like a Nazi officer's uniform, and they were hugging, and it said "Everyone is welcome," and I died that day when I saw that. That image was like the what's that film? Is it The Ring, where you watch the videotape and it's like you die in 7 days? I looked at that and I died in 7 minutes. It was bad.
I would have died in 7 seconds. Oh God! My immediate reaction to hearing that is like, can we shoot them both?
Right?
Clearly, the guy in the Soviet uniform is actually a Nazbol if he's hugging it out with a Nazi.
Yeah, well, and it's so funny. I actually watched a really respectful video about the Soviets today by Blissful Melancholy. Do you know Bliss?
Oh yeah, I know Bliss.
Yeah.
I've had her phone number for over a year.
Okay, well, there you go. That's knowing someone.
I occasionally harass her at times. I also admin her Facebook page. She doesn't know that I admin her Facebook page.
Really?
No, I'm kidding. If she didn't know, there would be no way that I could admin her Facebook page. No,
Is it like a official like fan page or something?
It's a page for her YouTube channel.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, the other day we were on I remember like on Tuesday we were both watching the ContraPoints stream, and
Yeah.
I
What a
immediately made a
trip.
joke. Yeah, I was surprised that she knew my name, because it's like I know that, like, I've had interactions with ContraPoints before and technically have been in a live stream with her. Like, it was last year, like just before Halloween, I was in one on I think the channel was called Silhouette Radio, which was these two YouTubers, Mr. Silhouette and Otterface, are both like basically they both run the channel, and it's like they host different people. So they decided that for Halloween, what's scary, like they did like this whole joke like, oh, what's scarier than a feminist? We've got to have some feminists on. So they had me, ContraPoints, and Chrisiosity on. They also
Oh,
had this guy.
Chrisiosity is very, very intimidating.
uh, they had, yeah, oh yeah, I know, Chrisiosity. Her I mean, I can say I've actually seen her face, and she actually lives in the same state as me, but like I've had private hangout conversations where like I've actually seen what her face looks like. It actually does look like what it looks like on the picture that, or on the new picture that she adopted after the whole like copyright issue with
Yeah,
her
I
first
remember that.
picture. Yeah,
I think
so
the thing about Chrissy is that she's just like the nicest person. So I
yeah.
just, yeah, she wouldn't be a very, like, if you were gonna have some feminists on your channel, like she would be like one of the best people that you could have on if you didn't want to combatively argue about feminism.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't meant to be a combative argument. It was meant to be like a somewhat constructive conversation. There was this other guy on named Atheist, who later became to be known as Friended. Um, just in case anybody knows about that guy, because Tim definitely knows about that guy. He's literally an internet drama troll, essentially.
Mm.
Like that's literally what he's admitted, that literally his goal is to just be drama and to be like an attention whore, essentially, for lack of a better term. I know whore isn't necessarily the most respectful word, but you know.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the most respectful word is probably one way you could put it.
I've heard people use it to refer to themselves, and I mean, I would even to some extent refer to myself as that. But I mean, I think attention whore may not necessarily. I don't
It's,
know a
yeah.
better word. Drama queen? No, no. I mean, drama queen almost has like an implication that just women.
It's got a gendered
Fuck,
implication as well.
I can't fucking think of one. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of like a non-sexist way to refer to that isn't just like a boring description of what these people do.
Well, when I remember one time I saw a publication and they wrote something about Milo Yiannopoulos and they called him a provocateur. So I guess you
A
could say that if you wanted to
provocateur.
be very, very like removed.
Well, I mean, that's what the right uses the word provocateur to refer to people like Milo, because fucking they don't want to call him what he is, a bully. I mean, that's
Yeah. Well, there's that. He's a huge piece of shit.
oh, I feel like that's a bit of an insult towards shit. Like, what did shit ever do to you? No, fucking yeah, Milo Yiannopoulos. Also, I don't know how the fuck you know, last year on Christmas, I actually ended up going to California for the week up until New Year's Eve. Flew back into Massachusetts on New Year's Eve. So on Christmas night, we like at around, I think it was actually 11 o'clock in California by the time we arrived. 10, 11 o'clock. So we arrived in LA and we were visiting my grandmother's brother. And, you know, he starts talking about how bad the left is and fucking how leftists are making this big deal about Trump, and it's just, well, one, he's conflating leftists with liberals. Because I'm
Yeah.
sitting here like I'm a leftist, not a liberal. Stop calling liberals leftists. I'm a leftist. I'm a fucking leftist. Look at me. I am a fucking leftist.
That's one of the things that I always think about when
That sketch is less entertaining with my camera off because I was going to do that, but like there's a whole lot of body language to that sketch that I was doing that just is completely missing when
it's lost now.
but like I was doing like this very expressive like look at me like kind of like gesture. Look me in the eyes. I have the Ghost Rider penance stare right now. I will burn your soul.
Isn't it that really terrible Nicolas Cage movie as well?
Yes,
Like, not originally,
yes,
but
yeah, I was going to say yes, but a really awesome comic character.
yeah, of course. I mean, they destroy a lot of things with film. I'm not trying to like, but that's just what it's gonna. I didn't know about the comic character until I knew about the film, and
I
I saw
watched
the
both
film.
of the film.
I didn't finish it, but I saw the film, and I was like, this is like really kind of bad. And I think there was a second one, and like,
Yeah, I saw both of them. They were both bad. The second one was worse than the first one, where the first one at least had some semblance of sticking to its original material, like sticking to the origin story. But like they never clarify that the person that Johnny Blaze, I almost said Johnny Cage. Fucking you know, that like they never clarify that the person who Johnny Blaze thinks is Satan is actually Mephisto. You know, that's
like
something.
it's like it's a different character then. Like that's a particular
No,
character in the series.
No, it's actually no, that is the exact character who it is, the person. But you know, they just kind of play it off like this is the devil. It's like, well, not really, kind of like this is the. But like, if you look at the origin story, this Johnny Blaze thinks that Mephisto is Satan, but you know he's not. He's not supposed to be the Christian Satan. However, he is a very similar character, but yeah, you know, he's a very similar-ish character to the Satan of the Bible. But
Because
yeah,
he would be Mephisto, named for Mephistopheles, which is like a name kind of for
yeah,
satanic
yes.
character.
Well, Mephisto is. Mephisto is also the character responsible for the One More Day storyline from Spider-Man, where the fucking marriage between Peter Parker and Mary Jane was needlessly nullified. You know, you can thank him for that. You know what? I take back my comments. He is Satan. That storyline, everyone hates it. Every person
I should read more comics. I have not read comics in a really long time.
You need to read the Infinity. You need to read the Infinity Saga because from I think it's Infinity Gauntlet to Infinity War, because the last Avengers movie, Avengers Infinity War, is based off of that arc, or off of the Infinity War arc, where Thanos gets the Infinity Gauntlet. Like, it is different, so like I'm not spoiling it completely, but yeah, you know.
The Guardians of the Galaxy films are kind of built around that too, as well, right?
They're built around the MCU's event, but the Guardians of the Galaxy film, or the Guardians of the Galaxy, existed way after that actual comic book series ended in comic books. That was when the first comics of it came together, because the Guardians of the Galaxy was one of those, like, Marvel and DC have both had these examples of, like, characters that aren't selling a lot of comic books, so they put them in teams. That's what originally happened, or that's what happened with Iron Fist and Luke Cage, for example, because Power Man wasn't selling and Iron Fist wasn't selling. So what did they do? They made them heroes for hire. So you've got a blaxploitation character, because that's actually what Luke Cage came out of. He came out of the blaxploitation era.
I've seen the old the sketches of like Power Man and what he used to look like and stuff with the tiara, and it's something.
Oh yeah. Well, also there was literally a story arc of Heroes for, I can't remember whether it was Power Man or Heroes for Hire, where fucking Luke Cage is supposed to do a job for Victor Von, or for, I think, Victor Doom. You know, the guy from Fantastic Four. I don't know why my mind is blanking on this.
Dr. Doom, Victor Von Doom, the villain?
Victor Von Doom. Yeah, I'm like, I know that his first name is Victor, and I know that he goes by Doom. I'm trying to remember, what's the middle name, and does he go by Dr. Doom? But fucking...
He was a lot more camp in the comics than in any of those film renditions that they did of him, I remember.
Oh yeah, in the comics, he is a way more powerful character. I mean, he's one of the few characters, like, he's supposed to be on par for the smartest man in the world, and he keeps trading places constantly with Reed Richards. It's actually pretty interesting that there's, like, you know, when it comes to the smartest people in Marvel Comics, or in the Marvel Comics universe, they actually talk about who are the smartest people alive. And 4 characters that are always up on, like, who are always up there for, like, really intelligent characters are Peter Parker, Victor Von Doom, Reed Richards, and Tony Stark. You know, these are all characters that are very intelligent because, well, Spider-Man is a bit of a normal level, like, you know, he's a bit more of a normal character or a grounded character than some of, like, the cosmic entities, and, you know, but the guy's fought Hulk and has actually managed to win before, you know. You don't do that as Spider-Man without thinking on your feet, you know. You're not going to out brute force Hulk if you're Spider-Man. You can out brute force, I mean, if you're Tony Stark, you can make a suit that out brute forces Hulk briefly. Or if you're Thanos, you can out brute force Hulk. And if you're Juggernaut, you can out brute force Hulk. But, you know, if you're Spider-Man, you're not out brute forcing Hulk.
Hulk is Spider-Man's like my favorite. I think probably I go back and forth. Spider-Man's probably my favorite Marvel hero, I have to say. Like, he's pretty solid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Spider-Man is a pretty solid character, and also something that I am not aware of how many people know this, but the Punisher actually, as a character, originated in a Spider-Man comic, and originated out of his opposition towards vigilantism, and it's not really against vigilantism, but more that he disapproved of the collateral damage that a lot of superheroes would leave behind. So he saw Spider-Man as, like, an actual threat to human safety. And, you know, but he also didn't know, like, what actually happened with the whole thing with Spider-Man. So, you know, he's given a very sympathetic background. He's given a very sympathetic background, and, you know, yeah, he was trying to kill Spider-Man. That was something that was plot line that happened. And that was actually how the Punisher was first introduced to comics. I don't know the whole thing because I never actually read that comic book. I just know that that's where the Punisher first showed up, because that was where I could find the first reference of him. But yeah, you know, it's a pretty... There's a lot of interesting lore in Marvel and DC comics. I know less about the DC comic ones because I've had a bit more experience reading Marvel comics. But yeah, that was quite a... But, you know, I don't even know what I was going to say. Have you ever started to say something and then just been like, I don't know.
Yeah, I had a couple things I wanted to say, actually. The first thing is I always liked the Batman comics, not because I'm like a huge Batman fan or anything, but a lot of them were written as detective stories, and the kind of mystery of it is always fun for me, so I liked a lot of those comics. And I kind of wanted to go back to something you said earlier, because I was thinking about it. You're talking about like the difference between liberals and leftists. You brought that up earlier. And I just wanted to say that I think it's interesting how a lot of conservative humor and conservative culture is based around offending liberals. And if you think about liberalism broadly, conservatives are like a subset of liberals. So it's very interesting to me that you've basically got this subculture. If you look at a place like America, you've got a subculture of people who are kind of like hell-bent on destroying their own like political realm, or just at the very least being offensive to it, to the point where like you've got people in politics right now who are, you know, I mean, maybe not all in positions of power. Like the one I always go back to is Steve Bannon, and he's not in the White House anymore, thankfully, but he was for a period of time. So you would have a fascist in the White House, and then you'd have like
it isn't even actually
fundamentally.
I mean, yeah,
broadly,
first time.
I just think that as a good example, because a lot of people are wise to it now, and like conservatism defends those people, and I think that we've always seen it defend those people. But
well, I mean, liberalism also, in general, like as a concept, kind of defends fascists too, because you know, it says freedom of speech. You know, I don't. You know, I'm going to intentionally fuck up the Voltaire quote, because, you know, the quote goes, I don't believe what you agree, or I don't agree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. I don't agree with your goals, but I will defend to the death your right to organize for genocide. That's kind of what liberals do in practice when it comes to fascists.
Yeah, well, really, yeah, relative to fascists, that's exactly right. Yeah.
We are trying to, you know, fascists are literally like, they're not hiding it necessarily well. Like the only people they're hiding it well from are from liberals who are assuming that it's in good faith, and they're hiding it from conservatives who are also assuming that it's in good faith, you know. So, yeah.
I was having a conversation with my mom today. One thing that I think about a lot is the fact that so many people just generally are liberals or conservatives, and they're not particularly political people. And I think they are those things because they grew up under a system that normalized those things to them. And so if you were a little bit right-aligned, a little bit left-aligned, or if certain arguments just made sense to you, you gravitated towards those systems of thought. And I'm not saying that I have like a ton of sympathy for conservatives or anything, but sometimes they'll make arguments or they'll say things and really feel them and believe them. And I kind of think to myself, you know, in another life, in another time and place, in a very different country, you could have been a socialist. And it's very interesting to me to think about that, and to think about the effect the structure of our society has on that discourse.
Oh yeah, you know. Also, you know, the fact that people think, or that a lot of conservatives think liberals are leftists. That really,
yeah. Like, and that a lot of that's the American Overton window as well. Liberals, some of them are to the left, of that window, and it's disturbing to hear people in America be proud of being centrists. Because yeah, sure, you know, if you're at the center of that particular window, you're in a bad place. It's not good to be at the center of that thing.
Yeah. I mean, for you know, at risk of sounding like Ollie from Philosophy Tube and sounding like I get all my arguments from him, um, you know, Carl Schmitt, who was a fascist himself, said that liberalism will always slide right. That's what it'll do. It'll always slide right to accommodate the fringe, to accommodate the far right fringes, because, well, the fringes don't. Because, well, one, if you put your ideas forward as free speech, you know, leftists aren't going to buy that a fascist is just saying what they think in good faith. You know, a leftist is going to be like, oh, no, you're clearly trying to recruit so that you can organize. You are clearly trying to recruit so that you can organize to get power and hurt people. You know, it's a very cynical thing that fascists do. That's how fascists have always taken advantage of liberal democracies in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Is
yeah, well, in a sense, it's the cynicism of it that you mentioned, that you brought up, that I think is important to talk about is it's almost a lot like a lot of leftist, or in particularly, I hear Marxists go on about this, and having read some Marx at least, like I kind of get why they harp on it so much. But when they talk about like material analysis, looking at pragmatic and physical factors and consequences for people, it's the way that people talk about politics in general. They tend to account for whatever real effects it'll have on their life, and I think that's why that's important to so many people, having that kind of what's the phrase that they always use? There's a certain like Marxist phrase that a bunch of I have a ton of Marxists on my Twitter line. I should know this. My Twitter timeline. Well, anyway, I'm sorry.
Are they
getting ahead of myself,
or Tankies?
Well, so it's that's a good. So this, I guess, to get that out of the way, this is something that I should just say because I've been thinking it for a few minutes now, and I've been thinking it for a few years now. Ever since I first got into Marxism and I started drifting like leftwards, generally speaking, I felt very strongly that like the tankier the socialist is, the more they tend to drift towards liberalism. And this is going to be an upsetting thing for people who watch this, who are fans of mine, who are maybe more authoritarian socialists, because basically what I'm saying is like tankies are the liberals of socialism, and that's really offensive to socialists. But if they're like,
oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I mean, if they're watching it, they'll probably be watching it on your channel if you mirror it, because on here it seems like they're not really. There's only 5 people watching.
Well, I don't want to offend people too badly, because I don't want to be mean, but
that's if you look at culture.
If you look at a lot of like authoritarian regimes just broadly, in a lot of ways they resemble liberalism. And it's okay, seemingly, in socialist circles to talk about how that's true of fascists. Socialists are very, very keen on acknowledging that fascism is just kind of what happens when liberal capitalism decides to defend itself. And it kind of curls in on itself and eats itself. That's essentially what's happening there. And socialists seem to acknowledge that almost universally, regardless of whatever kind of socialist you are. But within socialism, I think there needs to be an analysis of that as well. And I don't harp on it too much, generally speaking, just because I don't like starting fights with other socialists that don't go anywhere. Because like we're not at a point in real life where you would even, where that kind of conversation would even have any kind of effect. We don't live under socialism, so I try not to start that fight. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a fight that I try not to start, but I've been like sectarian posting a bit more now because, you know, I've just heard like some, you know, when I hear bullshit about anarchists, it's like, you know, you love, like, you know, a lot of like socialists will love to talk shit about like anarchists such as Machno, or talk shit about the CNTFIA or FAI. But, you know, or I don't know if it's called CNTFAI or CNTFA. I've heard both used. You know, they love to harp on anarchists a lot and on anarchist theory, but, you know, and I mean, some of them, like, a lot of the ideas that, like, you know, the idea that Machno is anti-Semitic is something that was kind of put forward by the USSR. I'm pretty sure that it was by Trotsky, and it was used as a justification by the Bolsheviks for invading. But Stalin himself took part in more pogroms than any of the members of the Black Army, I think is what Makhno's army was called. I don't know. I'm still learning a bit about this.
I'm a little rusty on my Russian history. Most of the stuff that I've read was like internal conversations between like big Russian party leaders from like all the stuff like post Lenin's revolution but pre World War II. That's the best sense that I have. But
there's some. I mean, that's also very interesting stuff like that. I think people should be taking a look at. Like, I'm not telling people to not take a look at, but yeah, there's you know, that is a major theme though. Is that you know, also if you look at like Bolshevik newspapers at the time when dealing with Makhno, you know, there was repeatedly like an off and on relationship of allyship between the two, between the Free Territory and between the Bolsheviks. And every time they fell, and every time they basically, for lack of a better term, I'm going to say every time they broke up, every time their relationship didn't work out, you know, the Bolsheviks would go around and put in their newspapers about how bad Makhno is. But every time that allyship was renewed, they would just talk about how they would praise Makhno, they would praise the Black Army, which I think is a very interesting thing. You know, you know, to me, it kind of it makes the idea that the Bolsheviks were lying about Makhno. It makes it sound like probably true. You know, just because there's an actual like just because there's an actual what's the word I'm looking for, precedent there, you know, that's you know, the Bolsheviks very much kept but yeah, so I mean, there were also like, you know, the pogroms were a thing that did happen. Some members of the Black Army did take part in pogroms, which were essentially the executions and harassment of Jewish people in Ukraine. Or I don't think that that's specific to Ukraine, but that's what the pogroms were. You know, but Makhno actually had members of his army that did that shit executed. The guy was going around killing pogromers, so to tell me that the guy was actually doing pogroms is a very suspect thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's very inconsistent with his actions in Ukraine. And, you know, and, you know, everything to frame Makhno as a bandit, it's like, well, yeah, you know what? If you're going to, like, say that shit, I am going to sectarian post. I am going.
Yeah, sure. I definitely get that sentiment where you hear people, socialists, just broadly say something, and you kind of go, "Oh, that doesn't sound right to me." Like the thing, and I didn't sit through the entire Bad Mouse video, so I shouldn't talk shit. But I saw Blissful Melancholy's reply to it, and all I remember from Bad Mouse's video is that I stuck around for a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't think this is for me. I don't really want to watch this today. And I never ended up going back to it. I might go back and watch it at some point. He's made some pretty good content in the past. But
he made some good content in the past, but I am going to say that something that I started seeing it was something that I started seeing basically when basically when one of my friends kind of pointed it out to me. There's this thing with Bad Mouse where where you can even see it in a lot of his older videos where he's actually very repetitive and will make the same point. And like it'll be making the same point. There's no new point, which to some extent seems to render the video a little bit pointless.
or maybe like just kind of redundant is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's massively redundant, and a lot of it was, well, I mean, when I say making the same point, I mean it's literally like, I would say this, it's literally like, oh, he says this in one video, and then in the next video he says the same exact thing in the same words. And I mean, that in itself is very redundant, but I mean, it wasn't redundant within the videos, but I started to notice it, and it started to kind of like impact how I enjoyed the content. I'll admit that.
Yeah, so sometimes I would see Badmouth say things, and I'm not going to go too deep into how I feel about him, because that seems like the kind of conversation I would generally prefer to have with him, but he doesn't
He's a
really
fucking asshole.
No. So I saw him say a couple things, and my initial thought,
Gwen thinks that Badmouth is an asshole.
Badmouth and I are gonna fight in real life. Definitely, that's a real thing that's gonna happen. It's not a lie. I didn't just make it up. But, okay.
It's not something that I just made up. It's not me doing the equivalent of a 12-year-old going, "Fight me IRL," and then spelling faggot wrong.
Isn't that literally like The Amazing Atheist?
That is The Amazing Atheist.
Isn't that what he did on Twitter to Dusty Smith? Where he was like, fight me in real life, and then he backed down.
Yes, fucking Dusty's stupid. We need to record it and like raise money for charity. And then DJ's like, no, I'm backing down.
Yeah, and then Dusty was like, no, really, let's do this. And that's, I mean, honestly, like, if someone was like, fight me in real life, if it was some rando, I probably wouldn't care. But if it was The Amazing Atheist and he was like, show up and fight me, I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's do this.
TJ looks like somebody who has never really fought, if I'm completely honest.
Well, I mean, he looks like he's bigger than me, so he's gonna have that going for him.
I mean, he looks like someone who postures based on how big he is, but never actually has ever fought anybody.
Well, yeah. Who knows? I mean, maybe he'd win, and I'd be fine with that. Is probably the difference. Like, I think if TJ lost, he'd feel humiliated. If I lost, I'd be like, all right, I lost. Like, I lost a fight. What are you gonna do?
He's bigger than me. What? I lost a fight. He's bigger than me. What are you gonna do?
I'm not trained in any martial arts. I just can't stop getting into fights.
I spent quite a bit of my school years getting into fights with people who were older and bigger than me. And I mean, it worked out pretty well for me. It worked out pretty well for me when I broke a 6th grader's nose in 5th grade.
Yeah, I mean, that's at that age, a year can make a difference.
He smacked me, told me I can't do anything because he's a black belt in karate, which, one, no, he fucking wasn't.
Yeah, right. Isn't that like the my dad works for Nintendo of like fight arguments?
Yes, that really is. I'm a black belt in karate. Oh, you're a black belt in karate, and you think that I've done like? Do you think that that's gonna back me down? Your head's going off the sink.
I feel like at that point, it's more about whether you want to fight or whether you don't, you know? Like if you're at the point where someone's like, here are my credentials, it's like, look, we're already fighting. Let's just go.
Well, he actually said that. It's like, okay, so you smacked me, told me I can't do anything. Fuck you. Fuck you. Do you think that that's going to get me to not do what I want to do?
Yeah, no, I mean,
I mean, I guess that was really like the only real fight that I had in like middle school, because I actually ended up getting kicked out of the public schools in my area for 5 years.
Ooh.
And yeah, I ended up spending time at like schools that were essentially like where essentially it's like the equivalent of like a drama remedial class where all the kids are just like troublemakers, and that's the reason why they're failing academically. And you know, yeah, you know, I went to the equivalent of like those schools, and you know, one of them didn't have suspensions because, or one of them did not have any suspensions because, you know, they had they had actual staff that were trained in restraining people without like causing serious injury. And then you also had like they had actual fucking padded rooms that, like, you know, if a kid was like, you know, if two kids got into a fight, they'd be put into separate padded rooms, and you know, they were kept in there. And I mean, it was meant so that they wouldn't hurt themselves. And they literally would stand you in a corner for 3 minutes, and you know, if you didn't stand in a corner for like half an hour and you were just punching the walls, they weren't going to come in and do anything. You were punching a padded wall. But you know, if you but you know, but like, you know, they wouldn't let you out until you actually stood in a corner for exactly 3 minutes, and then you had to go and sit at a desk for half an hour at that point. You know, it was literally called timeout, which I found even funnier.
Yeah, that's the best, isn't it?
You know, for some of the kids though, it was actually kind of like necessary. Like it was kind of necessary to have like this kind of system where, like, you know, they weren't getting suspended and missing out on like days of education because they were getting into fights constantly. You know, like the longer a kid was at the school, the less they got into fights. After I left those schooling systems, I just generally did not get into fights on school grounds. Keyword there, on school grounds.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's kind of funny to me just because suspensions are such a weird punishment anyway. Like I kind of vaguely remember when I was in high school, like suspensions, it meant you were in trouble. So if you had to tell your parents, that would suck. And in-school suspension sucked. But like a regular suspension, that's barely even a punishment, because if you're getting suspended, you probably don't even want to fucking be in school to begin with. So why are, like, that's not a punishment. It's like, I mean, it is. It's a punishment in the academic sense that, like, oh, you don't get to learn on this day. But for a kid who might have a more short-sighted view, they're not going to feel punished. So it's not having the effect where they're then learning from their mistakes.
Well, I mean, they might feel punished if they do what my mother did, which, I mean, to be fair, my mother didn't do this every time, but usually it was like I wasn't allowed to watch TV, and like I had to spend the whole day in my room.
Yeah, I only ever got one suspension, and it was an in-school suspension, and I didn't tell my parents about it, I don't think, because it was in school. So why would you...
I never actually
did. I think I had to get something signed, but I was just like, yeah, a bunch of us got suspended, and it was fine. It was whatever.
I never got an in-house suspension at any point, because whenever I did something, it was usually bad enough to warrant me getting like a full day suspension. And actually, usually it was more than a day. It was usually like 2 or 3 days, and it's like, And the thing is that it wasn't that I didn't want to be in school. It's that other kids would fucking pick on me because I was autistic and I didn't take that well. I'm
Yeah, well,
sorry,
then
the kid.
that's another
I
yeah.
wouldn't. I wouldn't have punched that kid in the face if he wasn't bullying me.
Yeah, that's something that I never understood as well as with school and with teachers and their disciplinary systems. It seems like so often in middle school and high school around that age, like the people who react badly to bullying and harassment get so much more crap from the system than the people who are doing it. And that doesn't get rid of it. It's just obnoxious.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's because if you punch your bully in the face, you're just as bad as your bully.
Yeah, liberals. We're
That's how
back to
that works.
that, huh?
The school system is based on liberalism. I gotta be a shield for
It's
the bullies.
I mean, well, that's the other thing is the society that you live in is going to have a lot of trickle down effects for
Yeah.
psychology.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Ian Miles bullying builds character. Chong.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And what was it? He was like blaming SJWs. I can't even use that term.
For
Blaming
August Ames'
SJWs for August Ames's death. Yeah. And then that
You know
was so
what's
funny to
funny?
me. Like, not
Is
funny to me, haha.
I highly doubt that they actually really cared about this person. I mean, to me, it's like what Bronx Blogger said. I really think that they're just mad. They're like, they want to blame someone and say, you killed my porn wife. You
What
know?
I think it is it's that same conservative faux outrage that when they do it, it's righteous, and when anybody else do it, or when anybody else do it, when anybody else does it, it's like, oh, we've triggered the liberals, like that phrase that they use all the time. It's it's just a lack of empathy for people who aren't on their side, so to speak. So and it's funny because like it's not because they're not on their side. It's strictly just because they're how do I phrase this? It's just it's kind of like a broad brush kind of thing. Like for you could say something similar maybe about anarchists and that like oh fascists aren't on our side broadly in the sense that they're not they're very like anti-humane. They want to do a lot of things that would cause massive destruction of human life, and that's absurd and it's almost preposterously inhumane to the point where you would hope anybody would be against it. So
Yeah.
broadly, I'm against all fascists. And you could potentially make a false equivalency and say, oh, anarchists and conservatives, they both don't like people who are on their side. But the difference being that, like, both of those things, I'm not comparing genocide to suicide, obviously, it's different issues. But again, just generally, it
What? No,
seems like
they're exactly the same.
well, no, I mean it's yeah, it, we'll play, but like
That's it.
it's
You're kicked out of the brain trust.
no, it's but to me
out of the
like,
brain
and I know
trust.
this is I don't know how to phrase this exactly, so this is kind of an incoherent thought a little bit, but there's a sense to which it really is true of conservatives that they just hate people who are against them. Like if you remove yourself from whatever consensus the conservatives that you know have come to, you'll be an outcast. Whereas, like with anarchists, I know liberals that I like, and I know Marxist Leninists that I like, and I know people broadly that I like. I think they have good intentions, and I think that under a better system, they'd live better lives and subsequently have better politics. But
Yeah.
to me, it's just not the same. It's not a one to
one. So Blissful Melancholy just made the perfect fucking. Oh, both Nick Hayden and Blissful Melancholy made the perfect point. It's liberal logic. So Nick Hayden's is first. Liberal logic. Firefighters are just as bad as the fire. And then Blissful Melancholy. Liberal logic. Firefighters should just hug the fire. That will fix everything.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I hug the fire, but that's just because I'm a pyro. Motherfucker, I'm a fire.
Do you play? Do you know Magic the Gathering? Do you know? Are you familiar?
I know of Magic the Gathering. I've never been able to afford a set of cards to play it, though.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. There's a character in the game generally who is a pyromancer, and yeah, she's got that kind of general approach to things.
There's 7 viewers right now. I wonder if one of them is ContraPoints. Love me, ContraPoints. Love me, please.
I wouldn't think that Contra would be a viewer, but I would love to be pleasantly surprised.
I highly doubt that ContraPoints would be a viewer. Although it still surprised me when she called me by my name. And do you know what really?
That's the. Sorry, go ahead.
What fucking jarred me is that I was pretty high while that stream was going on. Fucking I start hearing her say, "Oh, thank you, Tristan," and I'm just thinking, what did I do? Because that's the name that everyone in my family calls me.
I understand. Yeah,
it's not like a name that I'm averse to either. But it's just like, what did I do something that I'm like, oh, it's Tristan with a Y. that was kind of how I was going through my head dealing with that person. Like, it's Tristan with a Y. How dare you have the same name as the one I'm legally recognized as?
Yeah, I gotta go through that legal process still. I gotta work on that. The other thing I just want to say real quick, Blissful Melancholy in the chat says, I used to own it Yu-Gi-Oh! And she says, that's how we beat the fascists, everybody. We'll just send them to the Shadow Realm. Bliss, I will play you, and I will send you to the Shadow Realm. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah,
Let's do it. Yeah, exactly. It's time to duel. Get your game on.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is one that I haven't played in a while. I remember having like. I legit had thousands of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Thousands.
My girlfriend is not a card game enthusiast.
No. Jesus Christ, stop it, Gwen.
She's not a fan in the chat. She's very, very distraught. But I love Magic. I love Yu-Gi-Oh! I've played multiple Star Wars card games. I played the Lord of the Rings TCG. Tons of them. The Naruto card game, that was a thing. I think there was a is it? Bliss says, "Oh, bring it, girl, you about to get hurt." We're gonna go. All right, we're gonna go right now.
Oh my God! Now
you're Tristan Taylor to my Yugi-Moto, Bliss. I'm gonna take you down.
Oh my God! I love you, Katie.
I should say I'm actually not entirely full of shit right now. A little bit. I'm a little full of shit right now. But I have won every Yu-Gi-Oh! Challenge I've ever issued. So there's that for you.
I issued one Yu-Gi-Oh! Challenge. I issued one Yu-Gi-Oh! Challenge, won it. That's all the Yu-Gi-Oh! Challenges I've ever issued. So I've won all of them.
Yeah, well, if that was true of me, then that would be a bit of a cheat. Yeah, but I used to have friends, like I would meet people who played Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'd be like, oh, play me, and they'd be like, all right, let's play, and they would have like some fun, interesting deck, and I'd have some like super tuned like meta deck. Bliss says I actually haven't played in a long time. Yeah, I would work on that, because if we're gonna square up, then you better come correct. Is all I'm gonna say, because I'm ready.
You're one of those people.
Yeah.
That's it. Out of the stream with you.
We play Street Yu-Gi-Oh! Here.
I mean, hearing that literally, like the deck you described, that literally reminds me of the people who like metagame, or who like a metagame to win in D&D, and it's like, no, you're supposed to make your character interesting.
Yeah.
Not make them some boring generic I can do whatever the fuck I want character.
Yeah. I always play D&D for fun, but I play Yu-Gi-Oh! For blood. So we're doing this.
There's blood in the water. There is blood in the water.
Night. Oh, night, Brandon. That's my brother.
Oh, that was your brother?
Yeah, he's cool. He's a good kid.
Yeah, I mean, earlier when I was talking about game systems, I forgot to mention that the Xbox 360 I play on now, I got it as a hand-me-down from my older brother.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of those people. I battled one of those people, and I'm just like, God damn it, you don't play this for fun. It isn't fun to just get destroyed in a game of Yu-Gi-Oh!
I mean, personally, I disagree, but I understand where you're coming from.
Well, you wouldn't know. You've never gotten wrecked by a meta deck before.
I've had that experience. I remember when I first came back to the game, like way back, there was this guy who lived down the block from my parents' house, and he used to go to like tournaments and everything, and I don't really go to Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments these days. Like, that's not.
Pickle Rick.
You play to win, Pickle Rick. Get that Yu-Gi-Oh. What are you on right now, Bliss? What are you doing?
I think
one of these chats is not like the other.
I think Bliss may actually be on acid right now.
Oh, well, maybe that's a little far.
No, if she was on acid right now, she would be going through ego death.
All right, she says, give me a few months to practice, and we can play. Loser has to watch one of my videos and drink each time I do a jump cut. I will go shot for shot with you live on YouTube, and that's a challenge. So
I would like to join that, but it's not easy for me to procure that much liquor.
Yeah, being 20 and all, right?
Give me a couple years. Well, I mean, I'm technically under 20. I'll be 20 in April.
Okay, so you're 19 then.
Yeah, same age as Milo Stewart. It actually, funny enough,
is Milo really 19? Wow, what a good kid. I say kid. I'm not that much older than him, but than them. Is Milo? Milo uses they them pronouns now, right? Because when I first was introduced to Milo,
I'm pretty sure it's they them.
Yeah, they them.
They did use he him. They used to use he him.
Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with their channel, so I need to get back into it. I'm gonna go refollow them right now. I think I used to be following them back when I had like a different account, but now that I'm on this account, I don't think I follow them yet. Which
actually,
is
what's funny is that the account that I have now is literally one that was just under my name like a few years ago, but then I started this channel and just decided, you know what, fuck it, let's start anew. Because this wasn't even my first attempt at a YouTube channel, if I'm completely honest. I said the whole everybody is racist thing before Milo ever did. Never went viral.
Yeah, so that's a funny thing. Because you could probably, these days, you could probably go on YouTube and you could make a video and you could say the phrase, white people are racist. And if that was even remotely what was in the video or the title or the description or whatever, you would get a ton of response videos from anti-SJWs just because they live off of that like faux response, like faux intellectual engagement shit. That's entirely their sphere.
Honestly, I was mad when I tried to start something with Bearing so that Bearing would just like respond to me and say some stupid things so that I could just get like hate view. I'm someone who's been on the internet for so many years. Like since I was like a kid, I've had some amount of internet experience since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. To the point I just generally am like very detached from the internet. Like I the only times that I'm not detached is when like they turn into like doxing threats or shit like that. But like, people going like, "Oh, you faggot, fight me IRL." It's like that's never bugged me.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is certain slurs do actually bother me. But like that, it's it's the sort of thing that like it'll bother me for a second and then I'll just let it go and I'll just like block them because I
Yeah.
don't want to see them anymore. I was like, I look at this person and I was like, well, they're sending me slurs. That kind of bugs me. So goodbye. Like,
Oh yeah,
whatever.
I've just started going on campaigns where it's like, you know what, fuck you, I'm blocking you. You made one. You had one chance to make a first impression. Fuck you. You know, it's called the first impression. You could have said something insightful that would have even made me think about myself, but instead you decide to just go and attack me. You're blocked.
That's yeah, I don't know. There seems to be like some internet subculture where people just kind of jerk each other raw over being blocked by people they hate. And like I've been blocked by people before, and it honestly like it doesn't feel like a victory. It just perplexes me sometimes.
Sorry, that's someone I've
Oh,
been blocked by.
fucking turfs.
It was before it was really even that much of a turf issue. Like I knew at the time that like she seemed a bit turfish in some of the things she said,
Hmm.
but like at the time that she blocked me, it was more of a swerve thing. And really, what it was, I'm almost 100% sure that she blocked me because I made a video because she actually found a video that I made about her in response to basically her reposting a Garrett video about Garrett doing this whole like flaming out "fuck you, I'm leaving YouTube" thing and titling the video "LOL." And this was before Garrett actually left YouTube, which also I would like to note that Garrett at the time, I'm almost 100% sure that he actively disliked me. So I mean, I wasn't just like white knighting for Garrett because Garrett was like some kind of major friend of mine. No, I'm just like, no, that's unfucking cool. What are you doing, Jenny? Why are you such an asshole?
Yeah, she really is, and I don't want to Beetlejuice her and bring unwanted attention to myself, but
Oh,
it's
it's okay. She can't even comment on this. I'm almost 100% sure that I blocked her from commenting on my channel.
I have such a I won't say too much, but I just want to say that like I have such a weird relationship with Garrett's content just because I he was like half the reason I started like making content. Well, because I thought to myself, I was like, wow, if this is the way things are going right now, if he's like the kind of people that would be on here while I'm making content, I would feel like maybe there would start to be a place for me here. And I was so inspired by the stuff that he made, and he kind of left right as I was getting started, and it was super unfortunate. And
Yeah,
I just kind of like since then, like I know that he's in kind of a rough place. I really feel for him, and I want the best for him, but I just
yeah.
have such
I
a
mean,
hard time like talking to
I
him
won't
these
speak
days.
Yeah, I was going to say I won't speak about him in like ways that he hasn't spoken about himself, or I won't say things about him that he hasn't publicly admitted. Like I know a
Yeah,
bit
of
more
course.
detail. Like I know a bit more detail about him being mentally ill, but like I don't know where he ever actually says online that this is what he's going through, and there's a big stigma around what he was going through. So
Yeah, I wouldn't even go that far and I wouldn't even say that much, but like just the thing about it would be like he's been in a really rough place and I just really feel
yeah,
for him, but I can't really express it beyond that. Like
yeah.
I just have a hard time going further than that.
Yeah, have you managed to wait? Have you actually managed to talk to him since he got rid of the Garrett channel?
Briefly, we've had some exchanges. Yeah.
Yeah, that actually that was like a weird, like I had a very weird relationship with Garrett where I always thought that like he hated me because after knowing him for a little bit, I just suddenly find out that I'm blocked on Twitter, blocked on Facebook. Like what?
Mm.
I was like, why am I blocked? I didn't do. I never said a bad word about you, and I've never like it's just like believe it or not, I spent most of my time most of the time that I knew Garrett, I was blocked by him, which just kind of like there was a brief time where he actually followed me on Twitter, and he reassured me a couple of times that he didn't hate me, but it was just a very weird relationship.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that I had any particular kind of relationship with Garrett. We've only spoken briefly, but I, I just the only thing that I really want to say here about it is that I hope that things are well for him, and I hope that things go better for him in the future. Just because he's done so much and he's come so far, and I don't know.
I mean, all I'll say is, regardless of whether or not he likes me, he could dislike me, he could actively hate my guts. He's very much been a big part of what I would helping me be myself, because I know some of the problems he's going through in a bit more of a personal manner, and I know, or when I say in a personal manner, I mean like I'm going through similar stuff, or I've gone through similar stuff, and I know why he wouldn't want to speak publicly about it, because I sure as hell don't want to speak publicly about it. I mean, I've brought up that I've had suicidal ideation, but that's like about as far as I've been willing to go to talk about my mental health. I talk about bipolar disorder, but beyond that, I'm not really willing to extrapolate that anymore on the internet publicly, because that's just it's just stuff that I don't. It comes with a lot of baggage. So yeah.
Yeah, of course.
But he's very much been a big I technically started this channel before I even knew who he was, but but I found his channel to be I found the Garrett channel to be a very big help. I also was a very big fan of the Stupid Tweets show, and was glad to see it when you hosted it with Tim. If you've got another one if you've got another one coming, then I'd definitely like to be notified when that comes along.
Yeah, well, I got to get in contact with Bronx Blogger, and because he was I think technically the first person or the second person to ever shout me out ever. Other people that I would love to have on, of course, you, Bliss, I would love to have on my channel. I already had Tim on, and I got to know him through watching Garrett's videos, or know of him, I should say. And I would love to have Bronx on, and I'd love to have Peter Coffin on.
I've had Peter Coffin on my channel before.
Yeah, I saw that. I watched that. That was cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite hangouts that I've ever done, if I'm completely honest. That my recent one-on-one hangout with the Bronx Blogger, because I've had hangouts that the Bronx Blogger has been in. I actually met the Bronx Blogger because I was having a 400 subscriber hangout, and I invited him along because he just happened to roll up in the comments section, and I'm like, hey, would you like to join? I've seen you around on Twitter. Here's the link. And he just kind of joined. His internet connection wasn't great, as he kept it was very hard to hear him for everybody, and my internet connection definitely wasn't great because everyone was complaining that they couldn't hear me.
Yeah. Well, what I remember from that is my power went out halfway through that hangout, so I kind of came back. I was in it for a bit, and I kind of came back at the end. But I ended up watching the whole thing, and it was really good.
Oh, the one that I had with Bronx Blogger?
Yeah, one? I saw the one with Peter Coffin as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Peter Coffin one was definitely one that I thought was a very useful one. That was one that I had to spend a little while planning, because Peter Coffin's schedule isn't necessarily the most permissive. Although I would say that Martin Hughes was one that was hard to organize. I've tried to organize one with Dan Arell, but I think that I'd have to talk to him a bit more about it.
Yeah,
But that would be
he's kind of like a, isn't he one of those like mainstream like atheist like podcaster types?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's also an anarchist. Um,
Is he really? I did not know that. I mean, I
yeah,
don't know much about the guy. I shouldn't say much, but
he's constantly talking about or I mean, from my understanding, he's an anarchist, but he's always talking about anti-capitalism and what's wrong with capitalism.
mm,
And yeah, so the guy's definitely not a liberal.
yeah, that much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I have recently started to get into his podcast. I literally downloaded iHeartRadio just to listen to it. Also, I found it really funny when earlier, I'm sure that you saw it, but Laura said,
Mhm.
"My girlfriend is my name nowadays."
Yeah, I saw that. She's
My
Laura's
girlfriend.
great. Laura's great. She's really supportive of me, and
I like that she made her name Laura, Gwen's girlfriend. Yeah, I mean, I also made comments on. I made comments on one of your or made a comment on one of your response a go go videos last night that you hearted too, which is in which I mean I meant every word that I said. Like literally when I heard TJ make trying to remember the they think that you're like you're a bigot if you don't go out and you think, well, I'd fuck that guy and I'd fuck that guy and for me that's really vulgar that like I'd say, and it very much mirrors my sense of humor. If you took out the "you're a bigot if you don't say that," that's something I would say completely joking. I'd be like, I'd fuck that guy and I'd fuck that guy and I'd fuck that guy, and hey, you can fuck me too.
well, yeah. I mean, so TJ basically for his career panders to people who don't want to analyze themselves. And if your whole like career is just telling people you're not the problem, it's the world that has a problem with you, that's going to be obviously lucrative, but it's very internal, and one might almost call it an echo chamber of in terms of its ideology.
Echo chamber, an echo
A
chamber,
eco chamber, yeah.
echo chamber. Tim, you're trapped in your little SJW. No, I can't
Team.
do. There's only specific sounds I can do with that fucking bearing accent.
Yeah, well,
that fucking furry brown bear, that big brown fat bear.
So the interesting thing about Bering is that he's so incredibly deceitful. Did you see he did a video about me?
I did not.
He's got an alternate channel where he just goes by Patrick, which is his real name, and he on that channel did a video about me, and it was funny because it was actually something that I had kind of hoped would happen because I was interested in what kind of trolling I would get, and to be honest, I was disappointed. Like his whole video was really like he didn't talk about any of my points.
All he ever did,
he just kind of like walked around the whole video basically and was provocative instead. And I was like, yeah, all right, whatever.
You see, he's never actually ever responded to me. He's only ever just he's only ever left a comment on my channel and then sent the video out to show his subscribers, and then his subscribers either say shit, which just gets them blocked from commenting on the channel. Like, oh, yeah, right. You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. Yeah.
To be a Bering subscriber, I would assume you have to be either very interested in that particular man, or you'd have to be some kind of asshole. Like, he basically harasses people for a living.
Yeah, I mean, it's a spectacle that I haven't watched in a long time, but I mean, that spectacle is a very harmful spectacle. Like, there were mild criticisms that I would have had of ContraPoints, which is more that like I don't really know what ContraPoints is hoping to achieve by talking to some of these people, which that was really my only concern is like I don't think you're going to actually achieve anything.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you hurting yourself in this way, Contra?
I gotta go real quick. I'll be right back. I just gotta run real fast. But I'll be all right.
So I can just gush about ContraPoints until
please do. Fast. I love ContraPoints. She's great.
please love me, ContraPoints. Hey, everybody, just in the chat, just ContraPoints post. Echo chamber. Tim, you're living in an echo chamber. Yeah, fucking Baring. That's his channel's just a spectacle of harassment. I mean, I know that I use that word, but and you might not necessarily know what that means, but or what I mean by that, but it's it's really just his channel's about building a big spectacle, and it's not about having any like substance. It just he is a bad bear. Yeah, we should. Oh, like I said, we should only ever talk about bearing in like it's like ContraPoint says, we should only ever talk about bearing as if he's actually a bear, actually the bear in his pictures, that big brown furry bear. Yeah. This is definitely a hangout that I've been enjoying. It's also nice to see Gwen's girlfriend, Laura, come along. I like the name, by the way, Laura, Gwen's girlfriend. That's my name. My name these days is my girlfriend. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Baring's just a twit, but like it. Sometimes I get the interest to just view the spectacle that is his channel, because it really is a spectacle. You follow her everywhere. I mean, that's what girlfriends are for. You should follow your girlfriend everywhere. All right. It seems like Gwen is back. And it turned into Baring posting instead of Contra posting, because nobody wanted to Contra post in the chat. By the way, you're still muted.
Sorry, yeah, that was...
I have friends. I have a friend named Chip on Discord who, like, I'll get into conversations. I'll go like, so I'm guessing the reason you're muted, and then he'll unmute, and then he's like, oh, I didn't know I was muted. Yeah. What's funny though is I really like that. One of my like dreams for this channel, before net neutrality dies, Contra, will you please come on my channel to do a stream? I will literally do the biggest fluff piece on you ever. You don't have to worry that I'm going to like you don't have to worry that I'm going to like try and make you look bad. I love you, Contra. I love you, Natalie.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Natalie's, and it's unfortunate that
the creepy deep voice just comes in. I love you, Natalie.
No, I mean, like I'm a huge fan of Natalie's, and I think it was unfortunate because the best way for me to like get onto her channel and to stream with her was to be in a position where I was like basically criticizing her just the whole time. And that's really, I mean, it's kind of sad because I really like Natalie, and in another world, in another time, in another life, could we have been friends? I don't know, maybe. She's a bit older than me. She's got more experience with a lot of this stuff, definitely. Yeah. She's friends with Theron Meyer, and that's to me, that's like, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with Theron.
I actually don't know who Theron Meyer is. Apparently, like I retweeted her once, and like now I've been told like that she may not be the best person, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Although it's kind of like I looked at the tweet and I realized that I read it wrong the first time around. Is if you call people the regressive left, when it's if you call the regressive left SJWs. I thought it was if you call them the regressive left and SJWs. but like get mad at like anything to refer to people on the far right. I know where your loyalties lie. That was the tweet that I retweeted. I kind of looked at it. I'm like, oh, I wish that I hadn't retweeted that.
Yeah, that's out of
Called,
context. It might sound like
yeah. It's one of those things. Like, I mean, I've even I've retweeted Dusty Smith a couple of times, but like, you know, even then, like, I'm very sparing with those. Like, you've got to see something really good, Dusty. Otherwise, I'm gonna kind of. There's a lot of baggage to retweeting you.
yeah. So it's actually I'm on Theron Meyer's channel right now, and I should screen share this. Can I do that?
Yeah, I think you
Yeah. I think let
You know
me figure out how I gotta.
What's funny is I actually had an idea where I was gonna get a bunch of my friends together, and I honestly wanted to get like ContraPoints in on it too. ContraPoints and H Bomber Guy, I wanted to get in on it to basically just watch a bunch of Golden One videos and just like laugh and like respond and retort.
That would be if I could get H Bomber Guy on my channel, I would be so blessed. Like I'd already having like ContraPoints, I already feel like I have more attention than I deserve. But so this is I just want to show everybody this. So this is a playlist on Theron Meyer's channel.
I'm trying to figure out how to get the thing to just display your screen.
Can you guys see this? So this is a playlist on Theron Meyer's channel, and it's I guess like different people's channels she's appeared on. So it's a playlist of videos she's been in, but that are hosted by other people.
By the way, I just figured out how to. Yeah, there's this weird thing with my screen where I have to like flip the tablet screen over so that I can get it to present to everyone. So now your screen is showing, or should be.
Oh, okay, yeah. So like here's Theron Meyer on Andy Worski's channel. Here's Theron Meyer talking to Jordan Peterson. Here's let's see, Theron Meyer talking to Steven Crowder. Here's like Gadsad, really? Dave Rubin, like the honey badgers, multiple honey badgers.
Oh my god, that's sad.
Yeah, well, it's so that's like, and that's the thing with like ContraPoints that some people were kind of bothered by, and it's people were kind of bugged by like Contra talking to people.
I think I see
appearing on people's channel or people's channels that like she shouldn't have been on. Or like that would be what's the phrase? Like who would be speaking to her but not in good faith?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Gwen. I think I see a porn tab. No, I'm completely joking. There's no porn tabs open.
I had to. You made me double. You made me like double take.
That was the point. Double take.
Amazing.
One of those would open it up knowingly having porn tabs up. I'd be like, I don't give a fuck. So I don't give a fuck, but I am going to close them out so I don't accidentally open them up while trying to screen share this.
Yeah, so I can't. I have a hard time like hating Theron Meyer, but at the same time, like I've definitely seen her say things that I remember were not above board, and there was not good. I think she's anti-non-binary. I say that tentatively because I don't have something on screen that can prove it right now. But these are just her likes on.
Yeah. I mean, I myself would consider myself non-binary. Like, believe it or not, like, you know, being like, you know, I don't view being like a trans woman and being non-binary as two separate things. You can, or as two mutually exclusive things. You can be both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, of course.
And also, as I said, I'm not really honest. If I'm completely honest, I'm not averse to really any pronouns. It's just more that I prefer she, her pronouns. It's, yeah.
Yeah, so like
I was using they, them for a while, though. But I just kind of like decided, like, hey, I want to try these out and see how I like people using them, and it just felt great. I liked them. So, yep. All right. So now I'm going to shut off the present to everyone. Nobody wants to see your pretty face. You thought I was going in a different direction with that one, huh?
well, the thing that I just wanted to say is like, so I don't like to mess with people like essentially for their political beliefs out of context. But Theron Meyer self-identifies as a conservative, and ideologically, it's difficult for me to find her broadly redeeming. That's not to say that I've never like agreed with a thing that she's said. That's because that wouldn't be true. But oh man, like
A Nazi could say something like "the sky is blue" and you would agree with them. Not
sure, yeah. I mean, well, and it's not
extreme case. That was an intentionally extreme case, but like,
yeah.
it's possible to never agree with anything anybody says ever. I don't know. I don't know much of like Blair White. Like I know that Blair White's a piece of shit. Like I've seen
I was
enough
gonna
of her.
say Blair White is absolutely a piece of shit. Yeah.
Her being a piece of shit is the reason why I've never actually like decided to see if there's anything she's ever said that I would agree with at any point.
Yeah.
She's probably said something at some point in her life that I would like agree with. Probably
sure,
not
yeah.
for the same reasons, but you know.
Well, it's interesting because Blair White is one of these people who, if you think about her position politically and the work that she does, she's very much a tool of conservatism and a tool of the American right.
Well, Blair White's
and
just
I don't know how
she's a tool in general.
Yeah, sure. But and at least, if Theron Meyer is going to openly identify as a conservative, I think that's dumb as all hell. But Blair White, I don't know what she identifies as, so I can't speak to that.
Give me a second.
But
I'm going to go.
I can at the very least say, yeah. Yeah, go ahead. The chat's talking about Riley Dennis. I love Riley. She's great.
I just got to re-up on my beer. All right, so what were you saying? Takes me like 10 seconds.
Just that, like...
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Blair White is like... kind of the Milo Yiannopoulos of trans people, except that she's not quite as politically involved. So I have like a slightly... I just have a little bit more hesitation in mind whenever people call her things like Milo. If people call Milo Yiannopoulos a Nazi, if you think about everything we know for sure about Milo Yiannopoulos, it's not that it's not like that's inaccurate. So I really can't even disagree. But for Blair White, there does seem to be like that tiny like hair's breadth, and at that point, almost insignificantly a difference. But
you're just an SJW crying about milk.
Well, I mean, so like the whole narrative is SJWs just call everybody a Nazi and stuff, and it's like, so I know Theron Meyer's not a Nazi, and I'm not sure where Blair White stands, but I know she's been apologetic for a lot of their talking points. So if people call her that, then I can't feel bad for her.
Can I be completely honest?
Yeah,
I don't I really don't think Blair White has any hardline stances on anything.
Well, she's
I think that
what was the term? Someone who I can't remember.
I was going to
Someone
say
was
I
in
think
the
that
chat
she's
with the one janitor. They were doing a stream on T1J's channel, and I said they used a term for Blair White. I think conservative huckster, something like that.
yeah. I mean, I definitely think she leans conservative, but I mean, I think that when it comes to her actual beliefs, I am doubtful that she holds any convictions on anything. I think she is a coward who
Right.
will I think she is a coward who will stand everywhere and nowhere all at once.
Yeah. Well, cowardly is definitely a lot of anti-SJWs. I'll say that for sure.
TJ Kirk.
Yeah. That fucking guy. When that Boston Nazi rally, the free speech rally, just because it was called a free speech rally, when that got shut down by like thousands of protesters, he got upset and he was like, "Oh, thousands of people in Boston are against free speech."
I was one of the people in Boston who on that day too.
Nice. That's awesome. But like it's
I mean,
so funny because he's
out of Boston.
like,
Yeah,
if you look at TJ's stated public beliefs, that guy is, again, he's obviously a hard right-wing person. Like, the kind of anti-Muslim sentiments that he has, nobody can be that in favor of religious persecution and like be any kind of liberal. So
yeah.
like when it's hard to like call him a fascist just out and out, and I don't feel comfortable saying that, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, he is kind of.
He's a third positionist. No.
No, I mean, well, which would make him a fascist fundamentally, and I have a hard time calling him that, but at the same time, what else are you gonna call him?
Well, what's funny is that what I've always found funny about the third position thing is that it's a lot of posturing about being in the center, but it's the third position because it's actually farther right than like the other
Right?
accepted
Yeah.
positions. You know, it's the third position. No, it's just the farthest right position. You know, if you're going to say that that's a singular position, like if every point on the political compass is a third position, there's literally or is a position like anyone who's even slightly different in views is in a different political position. There's 7 billion, or there's at least 7 billion different positions politically in the world. Nobody has the exact same political opinions because everybody has a different opinion on something. Some minute detail somewhere along the lines, there's going to be some disagreement, which is also something that anarchists fundamentally agree with as a concept, is that there's always going to be disagreement amongst people in society. That
Well,
like
so yeah, with regards to, I just with regards to that, like the whole debate over who you do or don't call a fascist is very interesting to me. And the position I fundamentally work with usually is the one that I know a lot of people come to me with, is that like, oh, fascism is like a specific ideology. But if you really think about it, like if you're open-minded enough, there's this, you might start to get a sense that actually there's a range at which liberalism or conservative liberalism and fascism tend to cross paths a little bit.
yeah,
And that could not be more clear than when you look at someone like TJ Kirk, because
yeah.
he doesn't want to be a fascist, but he sees fascist solutions to liberal and conservative problems, and he seems to be tempted towards them.
I mean, generally, our political conservatives tend to see the same problem. So does Sam Harris. So does Bill Maher's racist ass. When it
Yeah, well,
comes to
fuck Bill Maher, but
no, don't
yeah.
fuck Bill Maher. That's gross. Why would you fuck?
Yeah, right. Well, it's really
If it
interesting because like I can't stand that guy.
was a fuck kill Mary between Bill Maher, T.J. Kirk, and Sam Harris,
And
bullet
just
bullet in my head,
Yeah.
I'm going with the bullet in my head option.
Yeah. I don't know about the fucker Mary, but definitely kill myself. That's for sure. I
Kill.
guess trigger warning for suicidal talk, but
I guess. I mean, you know what? I guess I shouldn't say that on a non-TW stream.
yeah. That's
That's
I'll mark that in the description when I mirror it. Hopefully, I'll remember to to do that.
honestly,
Um,
if I forget to put a trigger warning on something, it's actually me genuinely forgetting, not me trying to be an
yeah,
like, this is too much time for me. No, no, that. I'm not that kind of person.
yeah,
This is
for
too much.
sure.
No, it takes 10 seconds to type out trigger warning, suicide. Or you don't have to type out trigger warning as trigger warning. You type in TW and then just colon and then what it is. You know, I'm someone who likes to, like, when it comes to the subject of, like, if a rape is going to be described, I'd like it to be trigger warning because it's something that I actually have, it's a form of abuse I have experience with, you know? So
Yeah, I get that. That's understandable.
that's something that I'd like people to, like, kind of be mindful of. So like so even if someone comes to me with something that would be like a rather obscure thing that only, like, it could literally be something that only that person has a problem with, I'd still TW it for that person because
Hmm.
that's how seriously I take trigger warnings. And the whole point of it, you know, the conservatives will often talk about it like, oh, these liberals, they want safe spaces and, you know, they want trigger warnings, and they want to shut down discussion. You know that the whole point of a trigger warning is to warn people that we're going to be talking about it. There's no point to a trigger warning if you're not going to be talking, or if you're not going to be talking about it. If you're not going to be talking about it, there's no point to that trigger warning. Like, on college campuses, it's like, oh, we're going to talk about the subject of rape, like
Yeah.
for anybody who would get triggered by that, like, kind of thing, you can leave the room, or you can brace yourself. Just know that this is going to be discussed today. Like, we're going to talk about this subject because it's relevant to whatever, and it's also for something where it wouldn't necessarily, like, where it necessarily wouldn't be obviously relevant. Like, if I say, like, if I name a video the story of my sexual assault, that's something that doesn't need to be necessarily trigger warning for sexual assault, because the title in itself is a trigger warning for sexual assault, which is something that I don't think conservatives understand, is that we're saying that no, a trigger warning is just to warn in general. It doesn't necessarily
Hmm.
have to be put as trigger warning to be a trigger warning. You
Yeah,
know,
well, some things are obviously implicit. You know, if you put it in the title, you could literally title it "Trigger Warning: Sexual Assault," and people would
yeah,
know. So there's
yeah.
that.
And I mean, even if you don't say that, you're like, oh, hey, this is the story of my sexual assault. This,
Hmm.
if I'm going through and I see a video like that, I'm going to, like, I'm not someone who can't ever handle it. I'm someone who just needs to be warned first. Like, I need to be warned because if I'm warned, I can handle it a bit better.
Hmm. Yeah, sure.
You know, um, but yeah, I would see a title like that, and that title on its own isn't going to set me off or anything, and it'll tell me, hey, if I don't think I can handle that, I can skip it. And conservatives seem to think that, like, is like, one of their straw mans is like, oh, I see this title, and that title gives it away. Why do I have to trigger warning it? Well, you frankly don't. That's not what we're talking about.
Hmm.
I mean, some people will still put trigger warning in that title, which I think is perfectly fine. It's something that gives warning to people who may not be able to handle it. And uh, that's a debate that I've never like understood. It's like they want trigger warnings on campuses, and also they talk about safe spaces. Like, oh, most of the time when you hear students talking about wanting a safe space on campus, usually for like dormitories, where they live.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you like to, if you have to live on a college campus, wouldn't you like to know that your dormitory is a place that you can go where you're safe and don't have to be involved in stuff that may not be comfortable for you?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about this is it's always status quo apologia. Like what you're always getting out of the people who criticize that stuff is, oh, when I was in university, I didn't need a safe space and I was just fine. People will say things like that when I was your age, blah, blah, blah. But the thing about that is, like, some people didn't make it. Like, some people needed a safe space and they didn't have one. Some people needed help and they didn't get it. So the idea
Yeah,
that we're accommodating people, that the fact that that's offensive to right wingers, I couldn't give a shit. Like, we just need to help people.
yeah. By the way, I'm sorry if my burping's coming through.
Yeah, I heard that a couple times.
I literally can't control it. It comes in like a matter of seconds, and any like attempt to cover, like, those are me covering my mouth. By the way, as I burp, it just kind of manages to get into the microphone anyway. But yeah, that's something where it's like, well, yeah, it's fucking lovely that you didn't have to do it. It's not for you though. Like, if you didn't
Mhm.
need it, it's not for you. It's for those who will need it, for those who will inevitably need it, those who have needed it. And that the whole point of campuses is they're supposed to be accommodating to different people so that as many people as possible can learn. And if you think that's the case, you should be for at least having safe spaces on campus. It doesn't mean that everywhere on campus has to be a safe space. That's not what anybody has ever said. I don't like, that's the thing, is that they've got to make it sound like that. Otherwise, it might sound reasonable. And if it sounds
Right. Well,
reasonable,
it's very
we can't
lucrative to
make
be
money.
a right winger who panders to the concept that left wingers are just super sensitive or that their concerns aren't valid or whatever. Because if you're a status quo apologist, people will automatically fall in line with you because that appeals to their biases. It appeals to a lack of critical thinking, and this concept generally that centrists or right wingers, anybody on the broad range from like center liberally to like far right, the idea that any of these people have that, oh, liberals are just sensitive, leftists like are just, they're all snowflakes, that whole rhetoric is exclusively based on this kind of schadenfreude
Remember,
that they get
snowflakes
from
killed
the pain of
Nazis.
other people. Well,
Remember,
I mean,
snowflakes
that's,
killed a lot of Nazis in World War II.
yeah, in Russia, of course.
Come on, pack winter clothes if you invade Russia. I know that I'm stealing a line
Be
from Epic
important.
Rap, you know. Pack some winter clothes. Also, don't invade Russia while it's politically united, which is the actual military mistake. It's not invading Russia in winter, because actually, invading Russia in winter is something that militarily has been doable by most people that have attempted it throughout history. The only two people who ever failed at it were Hitler and Napoleon Bonaparte.
I did
And
not know that.
what did these people have in common? They invaded Russia while it was politically united, which meant that everybody was willing to die for that cause. In World War II, all Soviets were willing to die to fight Nazis. And honestly, I think the Bolsheviks who did go in, especially the ones who went in without weapons, because there were more people than there were guns in the Russian military. Literally the plan was, okay, just run through trenches and try and try and pick up a gun somewhere. There's going to be some dead body somewhere along the way if you make it, and, just go pick up a gun. It was, we have more people than bullets. Those people were willing to get shot and killed on a battlefield to save our sorry asses in the 21st century. America loves to talk about how if it hadn't been for us, World War II would have been lost. Or World War II would have been lost. Well, look at the Russians. Look at what they did. More of them were killed by Nazis than anybody else. And, the Russians, while they were killed, while more Nazis killed them than Nazis that were killed by them, there were a lot of Nazis killed by the Bolsheviks. The
a
Nazis,
lot of people sacrificed quite a bit.
Yeah, there was they saved our sorry asses. Don't ever pretend that it was anyone other than Russia who saved our sorry asses in World War II. And, it probably was just because Stalin saw it as a threat to his power. But, Russian soldiers, let's just drink to them. They've done a lot for us. And just by the fact that Bolshevik soldiers ever existed is part of the reason we're around today. One of my favorite memes actually has to be, there's American sniper Chris Kyle on the left side, and then on the other side, it goes over the weapon he has, his confirmed kill count, and who the people he killed were, talking about how some of them were completely innocent people. And then you've got, on the other side, there's the Russian sniper who was very famous. I can't remember her name. It was some kind of Russian name. And it was not Pyotr, and it wasn't Pyotr Kropotkin, so there's no way I'm remembering that name. But, it was Russian. So, she had a piece of crap Russian rifle that this was early 20th century rifles. These were not great compared to what Chris Kyle had when it came to sniper rifles. But she had over 300 confirmed kills, and they were all Nazis. 39 of them were Nazi snipers.
Was it Lyudmila? What is it? Pavlichenko? Is that right?
That sounds
Pavlichenko?
right. That sounds right. I bet that's mispronounced to hell, but
I bet it is.
I bet my pronunciation of Kropotkin's first name, like his Russian first name, because it wasn't Peter, it was Pyotr Alexeyevich. I can't even pronounce the middle name at all because I don't know how I would pronounce it. I can't even picture it in my head because it's a name I'm not familiar with. See, with Spanish or German names, I can actually picture them in my head because I have experience with those languages. Russian, I'm just at a fucking loss. But yeah, that sounds about right. She definitely is like a real hero considering the fact that like all the people she killed were Nazis. She didn't really kill innocent people. She was on a battlefield killing people who were invading Russia, people who were invading the Soviet Union, the USSR. It was not, it was not at any point, she wasn't at any point in any, in a war of any questionable legality on her side, Whereas all of America's recent wars have been of questionable legality at best.
And
also just
ethics.
Oh, yeah. I say questionable at best. They were all fucking illegal. They were all illegal. They were all unethical. And they were all for corporate greed. But yeah, fucking. Also, just a random insert here. Contra, why won't you come on my stream? I mean, also you brought up the one janitor earlier. That's a guy that I like to watch, but like I've had like some interactions with him, but never like any major interactions.
Mm.
But I find that almost every time like favorite leftist YouTubers get brought up, I almost always end up on someone's list. You know, I get tagged in some thread where they're just saying, "Oh, yep, this person, 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 this person." You
Yeah,
know,
those
I mean,
Twitter threads, ever since the character upgrade to tweets, those Twitter threads have gotten pretty extensive.
oh yeah, I mean, but yeah, I actually got tagged in one of those from the one janitor when Cat Black did her video on anarchism. Um, she said left a comment or she left a comment saying who are some of your favorite anarchist YouTubers, and you know, I ended up looking in that my channel name popped up, and I'm like, oh crap, I just fucking got shouted out in a Cat Black video or in a Cat Black comment section. I'm blushing.
I like Cat Black.
Ooh, another YouTuber that I like a lot, who I don't think is necessarily like a leftist per se, is Marina. Shut up.
Oh, Marina Watanabe, yeah. She's
Yeah,
cool.
is that how you pronounce her name? I've always
I
felt
think
bad
so.
because I don't know how to pronounce her last name. And I'm also not going to pretend to know what. I think she said she's Japanese, but I'm not going to pretend to know what um, country the last name actually comes from.
Yeah,
I
I'm pretty sure it's a relatively common Japanese last name.
Yep. Hey, my last name or my legal last name exists almost nowhere else where I can find other than in my family in America. Um, except except for in France, which is where it comes from, but it's like the Americanized version is actually like quite deviated from the French
Hmm.
one. So yeah, you know. Oh, oh yeah, Marina retweeted one of TJ Kirk's videos. I've actually talked to Marina on
Well, it was a
Facebook a bit.
video by me of about TJ Kirk. It was one of my videos, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Hmm.
I was binging your channel last night to watch it because I'm going to admit I don't watch as much YouTube as I used to. Like the also like you know I don't watch as much Michael Rowlands because Michael Rowlands is always bogged down in the drama, and it's like enough fucking drama. Just make a video about
He had a
don't
new
let
one actually, I think just today.
don't let internet drama dictate the direction of your YouTube channel. You know that's one of the big issues with like Keemstar as a person is that literally his whole thing is about starting drama or just finding drama somewhere and then making videos about it. Like that's why Keemstar. That's why Keemstar is so trash. Also, Keemstar is a fucking racist, but you know.
Yeah, there's that. There's that relatively important point.
There's that relatively important point, but I'm saying that there's more than one reason someone can be trash. Um, but yeah, I've talked to Marina on Facebook, and she actually said that she would or she actually said that she would check my channel out, but I'm not sure if she has or not.
Hmm.
But I've positive interactions with Marina,
I'm really
and she
flattered
is
that she's seen my content. She seems like she's just a bit. She and a couple others just seem like they're kind of in a different league. You know what I mean?
yeah. What's funny is I've actually like when I was looking at your channel, like when I first found your channel, which is actually funny. You and I followed each other on Twitter way before um, I knew what your channel was or ever saw your channel.
Hmm.
And I saw your channel because Peter Coffin had shouted your video on postmodernism out. So I'm like, oh, Gwen No Fear. I've seen her around on Twitter. the Wonder Woman avatar, which
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
thought,
back when I had that one.
yeah, yeah, back when you had the one that was very much a copyright magnet.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. Oh, it's only a major corporation known as DC.
A little bit.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big thing though. Is you know, yeah. So like, I saw your channel when I first saw your channel. You only had like 200 something subscribers, which was actually less than I had at the time. But I saw your channel last night, and you're ahead of me by a solid 110.
Yeah, I mean, I've picked up quite a few people recently, and they all seem very nice, and I'm really like grateful that people seem relatively engaged by what I'm doing. I think I should do more vlogs because people seem to be very, very interested in those.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Gwen. By the way, how
Uh-huh.
old are you? How old
Oh,
are
I'm
you? I'm
23.
literally the same age as my older brother.
Really? That's funny.
I mean, there's some other stuff that maybe after the stream we can talk a little bit about because
Mhm.
it would involve a bit more personal thing, and this more is stuff that like I found out through looking at your profile on Xbox Live because I swear I'm not a fucking stalker.
That's that's really funny to me.
But yeah, it's more like personal stuff that like I would never like it that I would never like go through like and do this to a trans person ever. I
Hmm.
understand being trans, like my name is generally public information. Unfortunately, my like dead name. You know,
Mm.
most people, if they want to know that my name is Tristan, it's been I got doxxed like a year, like over a year ago, before Bearing even got doxxed. Um, you know, but yeah, that was it's actually by that guy that I was talking about who was like a massive fucking racist, misogynist, and anti-Semite, but claimed to be anti-capitalist.
Hmm.
Which also at the same time, it's kind of like the more I talk to him, the more I realize that he's not actually an anti-capitalist or even opposed to the state. He just thinks that he is because it's like an edgy position to take.
Yeah, that is a thing, unfortunately, that seems to happen to some people. That's basically why ANCAPs exist.
Oh, he would always go on about how he hates ANCAPs, but it's like the dude was only moderately like the dude was only moderately like to the left of ANCAPs when it came to economic policy. So honestly, when it comes to if I had to choose to hang out with that guy or Mr. Dapperton,
Oh
fucking
boy.
I'd rather hang out with Mr. Dapperton. That's how bad he was.
All right. Well, I can't even imagine that. So that's that's because Mr. Dapperton seems like he's the biggest twit. Is honestly my appraisal of that guy, and that's all I can say about it because he just seems like an
Yeah,
ass.
actually, do you want to know his channel's name? I'm probably going to summon him by bringing it up. He's called Operation Anarchism, and he's got this fucking lackey who was originally going by Ancom Ramblings, now going and then went to just Ancom. Then went to I think it was Comrade Kaleshnikov, and now he calls himself the Enlight. The Enlight. How much of a self-righteous prick do you have to be to call yourself the Enlight? I enlight.
Yeah. So hang on. Wait a second. So there's a Operation
Oh, you look
Anarchism is his YouTube channel. Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I'm looking at it right now.
at his YouTube channel.
So he's he's got a few videos here. some anti-identity politics stuff. Like, yeah, all right, we get we know what that means. Yeah, that's I'm a
Wait,
socialist, but I'm a bigot, is what that means. Yeah, but hang on. If you go to,
not
let's see,
even a social.
featured videos. Um, there's a Sargon of Akkad video this week in stupid. Um, and there's a mouthy Buddha video,
Oh
and
my god,
another Sargon of Akkad video. Tim Pool, Lauren Southern. So this
dude,
guy is just basically he's flirting with the fash, is what it is.
wait, no, he's not flirting with the fash. He told me when I first met him that he was a former neo-Nazi and that his brother is a neo-Nazi. So the guy hasn't hidden his sympathies. By the way,
Uh,
do you want to screen share this?
yeah,
I
let me
mean,
go
the
back
guy.
to it. I just left it because.
I mean, if you've looked at his channel at all, like
Mhm.
looking at his channel and seeing how many subscribers, the guy's a fucking joke. You know, there's this guy named Batco the Manarchist who comes from Lefty Pole, who's like an anti-ID poll person,
Oh,
and
fuck lefty pole.
even he thinks that this guy is a fucking, or in his words, he thinks that he is a cunt. Also, do you know how self-righteous this, or how much of an inflated ego this guy has? This guy
How
calls
much?
himself this guy calls himself Ninja. He
Oh,
calls
okay, a
himself
little cringy.
Conversations.
All right, can you guys see this? This is Operation
Don't.
Anarchism on YouTube.
Oh, my friend, Crext. I don't know how. I can't pronounce it. I've had a few beers and I can't pronounce names anymore. I mean, to be fair, it's spelled. It's got an X, T, and a Z. Crextzin was telling me, don't forget about Shane Hunter too. But oh, that's right. I forgot to do the present to everybody thing. But yeah, all right.
Yeah, it
Present to
should
every.
pop up on screen as long as I'm talking, I think.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
doing the
so
present to everybody makes it easier.
yeah. So I've got it right here. This is Operation Anarchism. He's got about 400 subs, so it's not outside of where I was not too long ago. And then so if you go to his uploads, like let's open
He's
this up.
constant. Like his subs are constantly like going down and then up. Oh yeah, look, transgender LGBT leader shot by the police.
Yeah. And then there's it's
Yeah.
like some nonsense about My Little Pony, I guess. And then ID Paul Left wants us shut down. We won't be silenced. The ID
I,
Poll Left wants us shut down. There is no ID Poll Left, you assholes.
you mean the left? The
Yeah,
fucking
the
actually.
left. Yeah, the
You, you
actual left.
you know what's funny is that or you know what's funny is that okay, so the My Little Pony one, that one's actually because of my friend Piper, who made a video like just making fun of it. And this guy makes a video going like, "You fucking My Little Pony piece of shit! You give anarchism a bad name."
That's
Liking My
amazing.
being a furry, and it's like,
So this
Jesus
is
Christ!
this is
Imagine being
his this is his featured videos playlist. So he's got one video by himself here. Sargon of Akkad, Jimmy Dore, the Red Elephants. I'm actually not familiar with. Red Ice TV, Sargon of Akkad, Mouthy Buddha, We Are Change. Again, not one I'm familiar with. Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, RT America, Milo, just Milo broadly. Let's open that up just to confirm. Is this the yes? This is Milo Yiannopoulos.
Oh
And
my
then
god!
The Radical Centrists by Shane Hunter. That's fun. Jason Onruhe. That's yeah. Wow.
It's
The
funny.
Young Turk. What
I'm going.
the Young Turks? Really?
Hey, hey,
I got a Young Turks video next to friggin' Tip Pool.
hey! I'm going to tell you something that makes it really funny. The whole the whole Jason Unruh thing. Jason Unruh knows who this guy is and fucking hates him.
That's an indictment. So it's interesting that he's got multiple Lauren Southern videos on here, or is it just the one? Is it just the one? Might just be the Christmas presents one.
Yeah,
I think it's just the one Lauren Southern video. Stefan Molyneux?
Yeah.
Stefan Molyneux.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. By the way, I fucking. Oh my god.
Multiple Stefan Molyneux videos. Okay. All right. I think we've seen enough. This guy's a dumbass.
Yeah.
Bigot.
Okay. Another one that you need to look up is Light.
What am I looking up now?
The and Light, like enlightenment, but without the N meant at the end of it.
The and Light, is that?
Yes.
This guy
This guy.
With about 500 or so subs. All right. In light, in light. What a weird.
Yeah.
He's got the Ancom flag. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Well,
what is he triggered in his freaking video titles?
Because that was a video where I responded to him, but if you go up, but you should look at the channel introduction one that he made.
Wait, he's got a channel intro video. All right. That one
right there.
Oh, this looks edgy.
Yeah.
This looks edgy. What is this?
I don't know if this is the video. There's one where he's basically responding to the Young Turks, and he's like, there should be laws against me looking at attractive women.
Really?
You do realize that any law would be enforced by the state, even if it's a small law.
So I like how he's got a Enlight the Left, Enlight the Right playlist. That's two different playlists.
Yeah.
I can't even process. Oh, and then there's Operation Anarchism again. All right, there you go.
Oh yeah, this is, like I said, this guy's Operation Anarchism.
Sean? Hi, Sean.
You know, I used to be friends with this guy, and this guy actually used to have genuine feminist sympathies back in the day, but he's just turned into this, like, he's turned into this fucking asshole, and it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, some people need to log off.
Yeah. Some people need to delete their account, as one might say.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. I set it to stop presenting. Yeah, you know. And ContraPoints, if you're out there, I will send you the link to this stream. Come be drunk with me. No, I fucking love ContraPoints. Honestly, I've actually tried to organize streams or ask her if she'd be willing to do streams with me, and it always seems like it gets ignored. So, you know, like I do it by sending it, like, constantly spamming, because, you know, that would be harassment. But, you know, I've tried to set them up before, because I've actually had YouTubers with bigger followings on my channel before, a la Steve Shives.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Which the Steve Shives one was fun, because fucking we got to make fun of Jeff Holiday for being bad at being an adult. I am an adult. I go and find people's profiles on Facebook and send them messages.
Yeah, and he's a dad, isn't he? Like, isn't he a parent?
I think so.
Oh, that's I won't say too much about that, but that makes me feel some kind of way.
But yeah, also, like I said, that guy that we were talking about earlier, both of them are actually hated even by brocialists. You know, reactionary people.
That's achievement unlocked. Wow. Wow.
You know, fucking socialism or barbarism hates him. You know, fucking Batco the Manarchist, who is literally like King Lefty Polar himself, hates them. And that's, by the way, that's literally what his channel is called, is Batco the Manarchist. Um, you know, even the anti-idpol left hate him, and he was lumping them in with the idpol right, by the way, because we all decided one night, like, we all just kind of, or actually, it wasn't even we all, it was fucking, I mean, I don't really want to necessarily talk about him, because, you know, there was a bit of a falling out between him and some of, like, you know, he was, and some of my other friends, but, you know, this, so Twist, who lives in Australia, decided, Twist, Batco, I think it was Twist, Batco, Socialism or Barbarism, like, basically, they just decided they were going to mass flag the channel, like, yeah, like, to kind of like do the same shit that he's done, because he's actually gotten people to take down, because this same guy has actually taken down other people's videos in a similar method. Like, he copyright claimed one video. Oh yeah, so yeah, Batco is Nestor Makhno's alternate first name. Yeah, I know. It also means daddy in Ukrainian. Yeah, you know, Daddy Makhno. Yes, I know. Batco. Yeah, Batco the Manarchist is also like a massive fan of Makhno too. That's why he calls himself Batco. But, you know, fucking, you know, they just decided, you know what, we're gonna fucking like raid the channel, and, you know, that's what he's talking about in the idpol left wants to shut us down. It was literally a bunch of brocialists got together and decided, you know what, we're going to fuck with this guy because he's been fucking with us.
Yeah, I mean, I can't hugely blame them for that. That sounds about right.
I mean, he's got, like, he knows that he can't actually comment on my channel anymore. So, like, even if he, honestly, the worst thing he might do is he might do a video where he doxes you, but no one actually watches, like he did with me. But I highly doubt he'll actually find that information. Part of the reason he was able to dox me is because he already knew beforehand my real name.
Yeah, that'd
You know,
help.
because when I first met him, I wasn't hiding my real name at all. I think I actually even introduced one of my videos under my name too, if I'm, yeah, I think I was like, oh, I'm Tristan Montgrain, the American Anarchist here, and it's like, oh my god, I had a gray fucking background with a black A inside the O. It was a stock image I found on Google because I didn't have any, like, I didn't have any alternate picture to put up. I actually made this channel when I was 17,
Oh, well.
and it, you know, so it's been around like a couple of years now. Um, or not a couple of years. It was just before I turned 18. I started this channel on March 17th of 2015. So it was, or no, not 2015, 2016. I'm getting drunk. I'm drunk and I can't remember the years. No, but yeah. So this, like I said, this guy's kind of a joke. Like, you saw his channel, right? He's
Yeah, yeah,
absolute.
yeah.
You know, he's nothing to be afraid of. Even if this guy like doxes you, no one sees it. Like, people don't, and even then, he doesn't really, like, he says that he's like this elite hacker, but he can't. But he's never really managed to actually hack shit. Like, you know, if he wanted to hack, like, if he could hack, I bet you that my channel would have been down a long time ago. He would have done something, taken it down. I would have just started another channel, by the way, in response. But yeah, he did a video where he doxed me. Or he doxed me, but not really. Like, he just kind of showed a screenshot of my Facebook profile. And it's like, well, they were publicly accessible, so therefore it's not doxing, which, well, no, doxing is usually done with information that's publicly accessible. You just have to dig for it. Which it's like, well, you digged for these Facebook profiles, and, you know, the intent is to kind of be like, look at these fucking triggered, look at these triggered SJWs, and look, here's who they actually are in the real world.
Mm.
I've been in like a few Discord servers where this guy's come along and he adds me, like he adds my profile, and he's like, they're a fat tranny who lives with their grandmother, and it's like, oh, you know, is that really all you can say? Get
That's all you
the
got,
fuck out.
huh?
That's all you got. You don't have anything intelligent to say. Of course you don't. You don't have anything creative. You don't have anything new to say. You're just the same old bullshit.
Yeah.
Surprised that we haven't like just bored the crap out of the audience at this point.
They're doing their own thing. They're having their own conversation, and I love them for it. So they're all beautiful.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. By the way, did you ever or you know, speaking of like the whole thing that you did with ContraPoints, like are you like still in contact with ContraPoints at all, or like was it just kind of like that one time thing that you're doing that you were doing?
Oh, we've I talked to her at some point recently, just very briefly for something, and you know, I mean, she's a busy person. She's got her own work to do, so I try not to bug her, but sometimes I'll show up in like the chats of her videos, or I'll comment on her tweets or stuff like that. You know, just little things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit envious of the fact that you got to do a stream with ContraPoints. Like, God damn it, I've been trying to do that for over a year now. What the fuck?
That's yeah. I mean, I had a good time. I really liked talking to her.
I mean, Kevin Logan even vouched for me in that hangout, or even vouched for me and said, and asked in ContraPoints, it's like, well, I'm not doing streams with other people right now, and then afterwards went and did the Sargon of Akkad stream, and Kevin kind of stood up for me, white knighted, as some might say. No, he didn't talk over me. I was just kind of like, you know, as soon as she justified herself, I was just kind of like, I decided to not like get involved. I'm like, you know, I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, I can't tell you what to do with your life. I mean, Kevin Logan kind of made that point. Kevin Logan was just kind of wondering, like what the hell? This is a perfectly fine person. I've done hangouts with them, but like, you know, you go and you went and you did a stream with Sargon of Akkad. Like, what? After telling them that you don't do that you're not doing any streams with other people right now. I mean, fucking, she did a stream with Muke, fucking Muke, which there's a lot of baggage with Muke. I don't think a lot of people know, but he just about a year ago, he was making videos about how bad identity politics were. There was actually a back and forth between him and Anarcho-Pack, and it was actually kind of funny because him and Anarcho-Pack and him and Red Star kind of became friends through that. But there's some fucked up things that Muke or Zexizzy has said, such as like,
Xizzy.
yeah, he was on her channel, and it's like, God damn it! Why the fuck can Muke be on her channel? Yeah, he went by two names. I knew him as Zexizzy. I mean, I follow him on Twitter, but it's more because I want to see, like, has he actually like changed his opinions on some things?
Yeah, he was on Peter Coffin's channel too, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I think
he was on Peter
Hangout.
Yeah, because he also, by the way, has heard of this Operation Anarchism guy and even poked fun at him on Twitter, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, Xizzy is a Marxist, right? That was my appraisal of him, at least.
Yeah, yeah, but he did some video, or he did like a back and forth correspondence with Anarcho-Pack about like identity politics and whether or not they're actually good for the left. And Zexizzy was arguing against, and Anarcho-Pack was arguing for. identity politics. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know how old Xizzy is, so I don't.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, like, you know, so there's like some baggage, and apparently, from what I've heard from my friend Piper, he's. I'm going to say that this is stuff that I've heard because I haven't really watched much of his channel, but I do know about some of the baggage because this guy actually, when that whole debate between him and Anarchopack came up, because I had shared an Anarchopack video, this guy Ninja responded by sending me a Zexizzy video, or by linking his Zexizzy video. I kind of watched it and I'm like, this is some bullshit of, if I can't say the word faggot, there can be no revolution, because
Yeah.
stopping me from saying the word faggot, um, or stopping me from saying the word faggot is not going to help the revolution. Like, it's like, I don't think you see the point being made. The point being made is we're asking that you respect that we don't call people by these words. We're not saying, like, we're not saying that, like, if you say the word once, you have to be excommunicated from, like, socialist revolution. Like, no, we're saying that if you repeatedly say the word, despite people's objections to being called that or hearing that from other people, like, you know, you're being a dick, and like that's not like a cool thing. And yeah, so it was kind of like there was a bit of like, so yeah, there's quite a bit of baggage there. And apparently he had made a video that was also like a bit of rape apologetics. So
Oh,
I'm just
really?
kind of, so yeah. I mean, I don't know much because I never actually watched his channel, but I mean, but yeah, this ninja guy actually invited him to a hangout call after that video to talk about it, and it's like, well, and you know, to talk about like identity politics and what's wrong with them, you know, so that just kind of like, you know, to me that's just like, to me it's just kind of like, you know, I'm a bit like, I approach this guy with I'm approaching this guy with a hazmat suit because I don't know what he is now, but he's done some things that have made me uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah. It's so if you go to Xizzy's channel, I'm looking through like the past 12 months of his videos, and I don't see, I mean, just looking from the titles, obviously like I'm not watching them right now.
yeah.
But it's interesting to me. I'm not seeing much that's really pushing me out like to make any conclusions about him ahead of time so far, but I do remember seeing an exchange on Twitter between him and Democratic Socialist 01, and I was kind of skeptical of his content going into it. Just he's got a
Oh
video
yeah.
about anti-ID poll leftists. That's interesting. I'll have to bookmark that and check it out.
I mean, the thing though, or when it comes to Democratic Socialist 01, I've heard him say that, like, oh, he's sectarian against the Marxist Leninists, and it's like, I mean, I'm like, well, you watch my channel, and you've told me that you like my videos, so like, and I say sectarian things about Marxist Leninists all the time. Like, what's I mean, my problem with Muke is that I think that he's probably been a brocial, or I think that he, at least at some point, was a brocialist. I can't determine whether or not he still is, but the first video I saw from him very much was a brocialist video. Which, by the way, it's almost 11 o'clock here. I can't believe that we've gone this long.
Yeah, it's been almost 3 hours. Look at that.
Look at that. Oh, look at the time. It's invading time in Dark Souls.
That's yeah. I can't speak to I just want to close with I can't speak to Xizzy's content or character, but I would like to check out his content and his Twitter, and I'll see what I think of it in the future.
Yeah, but by the way, by the way, I fucking love that you have a trans flag in your room.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I just put this up. My girlfriend got this for me.
Just let's take a look at my room for a second because I can actually pick up the thing the camera's from. I've got a couple Oblivion posters, some photos, a very messy area where there's a stereo, a Sons of Anarchy poster. I don't even watch that show and never have. And just a bunch of fucking lamps, a fan, and a really messy desk. I don't know if that actually showed everything or not. But I'm gonna close out the camera because it's probably it was showing my face in a very awkward way. It was showing my double chin. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I wish I could have one of those flags somewhere in my room. Although I think that my grandmother would be like, "Why do you want it?" And I'd have to. I'd probably be forced to come out at that point, which is something that I don't feel safe doing. So I guess I'll close out by saying it has been a lovely conversation, and we could definitely keep talking for a little bit after this. But I think it's gotten to the point where we've run out of things that are that are viewable in a stream. Although, I had an almost 4-hour stream with Demotivator Opinion once, just a one-on-one between me and him, and also the day before Garrett had done one with Christy Winters and Tom Avella, but that was just me and Tim for 3 hours and 50 minutes, just kind of shooting the shit. So don't doubt that I can. So you shouldn't doubt that I can talk with or that I can talk for a long time because I have a lot of internal dialogue as an autistic person, something I go through a lot. So yeah, I would like to close out saying this has been a lovely stream, and I am glad to have had you on, and you replied so quick, and we also fucking go back and forth in a ContraPoints chat, which is always the best.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this has been nice.
Yep. All right.